128 deaths in 6 states.
There are still hundreds of people that are missing, unfortunately, all around western North Carolina and even in some spots of Virginia. And so active National Guard and other agencies are out in the air when the light comes up looking for people.
Fox Weather's Robert Ray in Asheville, North Carolina, one of the many communities devastated by flooding. Vice President Harris told millions of storm victims,
President Biden and I and all of the folks behind me are with you.
That was at a FEMA disaster meeting in Washington. Former President Trump went to Valdosta, Georgia, seeing the damage.
We are going to be with you as long as you need it.
Now, tonight, the Harris and Trump running mates square off in the CBS News vice presidential debate, J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Tug, Rhino, and Los on Tuesday. And last night, I got this terrible news after the Braves had, broken my heart in the first game and clinched in the second game, Then I read the freaking Pete Rose passed.
I thought the McRib was not coming back.
I was almost that. I was afraid I was going to see that next. I thought that was going to creep in. But no, Pete Rose passed, man. That sucks. Pete Rose should have been in the Hall of Fame. He should have been in the Hall of Fame before he died.
You're trying to drag me into the most tired argument in the history of sports talk radio.
I don't care. I'm not in sports talk radio. We're talking in just regular radio.
Pete Rose was a scumbag for most of his life.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate
so
that
was Ty Cobb.
But it's unfortunate that he broke the one rule of baseball that exists in every clubhouse you've ever been in. Mm-hmm. Don't bet on baseball.
Yeah. And they broke the news on all the betting sites and all the betting shows. That's the thing that's so ridiculous about it all.
Yeah. You only have to not bet on baseball.
That's it.
And bet on your team to win and lose. Yeah. And not be the manager of that ball club while you're doing it.
I'm telling you, man. If it'd be Shohei Ohtani, no problem. We're going to cover that up. Nothing to see here. Pete Rose, you got to go.
Pete Rose should have had a translator then.
That's
gotta have a fall guy. Let that be a lesson.
Now that's the truth.
Always have a dude. Like when I get caught with like 10 pounds of cocaine, it's Joe's cocaine.
That's right.
All right.
Well, at the White House, you don't even need it because they'd just be like, I don't know, the cameras weren't working. We have no idea. We can't trace it back.
Always have a guy.
No, that's right, dude. All like the movie stars, all the music stars, they always have a guy.
Yeah.
And that
when
guy,
they get pulled over and they have something they shouldn't, it belongs to Dave.
That's right. Dave, what, you did it again, Dave. Damn it, Dave.
Yeah, if you're in Hollywood, you have a stunt double. In real life, you need to have a trouble double.
That's right.
When you get in trouble, that's my double.
Man, the rappers, they always got a double.
Yeah.
Freaking Snoop Dogg pays that one dude like $8 million a year to roll his weed.
Hey, look.
I mean, what a great game.
If you were to go, if you were in Las Vegas and you were to be like at Mandalay Bay,
yeah,
and if you wandered into the atrium area, it's kind of like their mall area. You can go buy purses and all sorts of other stuff.
Now known as the Pete Rose Atrium.
You could always see Pete in there signing autographs and just sitting, and it was one of the saddest things to ever look at.
That part I agree with, man. It's so sad. But he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he needs to go in the Hall of Fame. And maybe he will. Maybe he will at this point. And we also lost to Kembe Mutombo.
Yeah,
that was a pretty big loss.
Speaking of an actual person who should be heralded for the work he did, especially back in his home. Yeah, a guy who actually contributed to society.
And probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And I was lucky enough to cover the Hawks in the 90s when he was here. And There used to be a restaurant here. I don't know if you guys remember it, called Mix. And
yes, of course.
Yeah, I loved Mix. They had the best buffalo cheese dip ever with the blue cheese. Oh, God. And I had walked in there, and the East Cobb one is the one I used to go to all the time. And Dikembe was there, and he kind of recognized me because I had been working for, at that time, I believe it was 790 The Zone. And he just said, "Hey, come sit with me." And I was like, really? And it was kind of odd, and we did. And we had a wonderful conversation. And
he was hard to understand.
He was very hard to understand. Very deep
super
voice.
Deep voice and the thick accent. It made it a little difficult to understand.
But one of the nicest guys.
Nice man.
Even offered to pay for my meal, and I refused that. But very, very good guy. Always great to talk to, and what a player to watch. I mean,
Pete Rose never offered to pay for my meal.
No.
No. He would have to pay for his meal.
That's exactly right.
That was actually Pete's deal.
yeah, exactly. He would sign autographs to get a meal, I think. If he hadn't have been such a pain in the butt,
turn that into a stew.
There's still meat on that bone.
Some of you may get that, some of you don't. But I'll just say, Pete was the guy who wanted to turn everything into a stew.
But if he hadn't have been so hard to deal with, such a pain in the butt, I think at some point they would have. Oh
no! The problem is that he spent the better part of a quarter of a century lying about it, and then when he decided he needed money to sell a book, then he told everybody about what he did. And so, if you're asking for people to, hey, trust me, this is what I did, then turn it into, all right, now I need to profiteer off of this and tell you the truth.
Yeah, I'm not saying he was a good guy. I never said that. I just said he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because of his accomplishments on the field. That's what I'm saying. But I think had he not been such a dirtbag in everyday life, I think people would have felt a little more, on his side.
Sure.
I think that would have been the way, handle it right from the beginning and then don't continue to be a dirtbag throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, I don't think he was loved very much towards
he was not.
And I lived in a few areas where you get to see Pete Rose a lot. And in New York, I went to a card show, and he was just a jerk to everybody and kids and everyone around him. He just always looked miserable to be anywhere, and he was trying to get attention by selling his autograph, and, he just kind of came off that way. So
I would like to fast forward to Wednesday's show at about 6:05.
Oh, who's dying there?
No, that is where Tug will then explain to you why OJ and his estate really deserves his Heisman Trophy back.
He did put the work in on the field.
I won't.
They never proved it criminally.
It's true. Now you're being ridiculous.
And poor OJ died before he could get to the golf.
I was glad to see them
give nice guy.
I was glad to see them give Reggie Bush's back.
Yeah,
he cheated and was kicked out, and all of it was returned. It's the thing. There's no balance there. But Reggie Bush, again, I think behaved in a manner afterwards that people appreciated. And
Mama got a house.
Yeah,
that was illegal.
Routine.
Right. But again, now it is. But when he broke the rules, it wasn't. So that's what I'm saying. But I think if you handle yourself as a relatively good person, that people at least can identify with you and say, you know what, maybe we'll give this guy another shot.
Sure, yeah.
And now that gambling is legal, that
gambling is not legal.
Well, it is.
Players cannot gamble on their own sports across every sport.
Shohei Ohtani says you can.
Across his again, his was tied. And this is well known from the investigation. His was tied to football betting, soccer bet. That's what they found.
You believe
soccer bets?
You believe that?
Listen. If he bet on baseball, then he'd be out of baseball.
Yeah,
it was tied to soccer bets.
He would not. He is the most important player in the game.
Tied to soccer betting.
You can defend it all you want. It ain't going to change my mind.
I'm sorry. I'm just telling you what they found.
Okay. And you believe MLB.
I'm looking at it and saying that if you were to prove to me that he bet on baseball, he should be out of baseball.
Jaw off the table. I'm going to put it back in my mouth because my jaw is on the table.
Where is your proof that he bet on baseball?
You would believe MLB, the most valuable player in the league. You're telling me they're going to push him down the river? Not a chance.
What do you think Pete Rose was?
Yeah.
He was the hit king. You jerk. You're sitting here talking about Pete Rose needs to be, and now you dragged me into the worst conversation in all of radio.
So
because you can't understand that one of the all-time great players they pushed out of baseball, and you're sitting here trying to argue about a guy who doesn't even speak English, and he's this is what they wouldn't do.
I definitely believe Shohei Ohtani is innocent. I definitely believe that.
I don't believe you now. You're not telling me the truth.
I think you haven't really thought this thing out very well.
I think I've thought it out really well.
I understand. I understand your point, Tug. That I don't trust anyone anymore. But I'm also one of those guys who goes, well, here's what the legal situation says. Here's what was found. Here's the evidence. And unfortunately, they don't have evidence.
Did the federal government run that investigation?
I mean, they might as well have.
Like it.
I think it's just as crooked.
I could be a Major League Baseball player and bet on anything in this world except one thing: baseball.
Right. My God,
that's how that works.
I had $5 million disappear from a bank account. I didn't even know it was gone. Who knew? It was just gone. I didn't even notice.
Talk to this guy, and he's like, you don't understand a word I'm saying, and I'm just telling you I'm a translator, and I did what I was told, and I took the money.
It's ridiculous.
He told me to tell you I took the money.
Ridiculous is what that is.
Well,
anyway, what isn't
gotta have
ridiculous
the fall guy.
Is that Trump coming to Georgia was a good thing. And Trump put his stake in the ground and said, I am going to help, where the Biden administration and Kamala Harris aren't doing anything. I mean, though they are absentee.
Yeah, well, she did show that she was drawing on invisible ink on some paper.
Well, I did see that.
Didn't have her headphones connected to the phone that she was apparently talking to all these people on, but okay. I think what Donald Trump did, and, we talked about it yesterday, coming here is important because I think you do need to show some kind of presence and leadership, and that's what Donald Trump did yesterday. He came to Valdosta. He showed leadership. He met with the governor. He met with people from all over to find out what they needed and what they could do. They brought gasoline, which I think is a more important story. I think it's something that I've been talking about for, 2 years. This is what's going to happen when the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is brought down to a level where you can't get gas to places like Asheville, Valdosta, or places that need it. We're going to see the prices go up. And this is going to be the issue that people who actually need the gas don't have it because we played political games with it. So he brought what they needed there. I think he played politics at one point and said something he shouldn't. But otherwise, I think he did a great job getting there and telling people that they're there for them, they'll be there for them, and they'll continue to help. And I thought he was very presidential yesterday.
This is very simple to me because when you look at the communist regime, they will constantly tell you, look over here, don't look over here. Mm-hmm. And this can apply to Gold Star families. This can apply to migrants in Ohio. This can apply to train derailments. This can apply to what's going on in Hawaii when you have an entire area burned down. Notice they sweep these things under the rug and they don't cause attention to it. They don't call any attention to it. Donald Trump is stepping into these areas and saying, if they're not going to pay attention to you, I will. Mm-hmm. And that's all these people are asking for in a lot of cases. Just, hey, we're having some problems here. Will you please call attention to what we're dealing with?
And the answer from the federal government and the Biden administration right now is no, we're not going to. We don't have any resources. I was on the phone for 2 hours from the beach. I was doing my duty, which nobody believes. And when you hear Donald Trump show up somewhere, it sounds like this. When you hear the Biden administration pull up, you hear crickets because they don't pull up. That's the difference. They don't show up whatsoever.
For all the people saying, they didn't want to interfere with this. They were the same people that said George Bush should have been at Katrina the day of, should have been flying over, should have been there. No, they should have been there. This storm started on Thursday. The president and the vice president had all the information, maybe not exactly where it was going, but hey, we know it was going through Florida. We know it was going through Georgia. And we knew the opportunity was South Carolina and North Carolina as well. They needed to start preparing on Thursday. They should have been making phone calls. They shouldn't have been campaigning. They shouldn't have been at the beach. They're the leaders, not Donald Trump. So don't blame him for where he was before this. He showed up. They didn't. He showed up. He didn't interfere in any rescue efforts. He didn't interfere in any of the doing of FEMA. He was there to help support, and I think that's huge.
I wish I didn't know so much about this from having dealt with how this all works, the red tape that you deal with. One of the things that happens, and we saw this in the state of Georgia, we saw this in Florida, we saw this in a handful of states early last week. They already applied for federal disaster relief. Yeah. And oftentimes that's a rubber stamp where you will have the federal government say, yes, in anticipation that money is going to be available to you in order to help you out with it quickly as possible. What happened was you had states that didn't expect, and nor should the Carolinas expect to not only be hit by a pretty massive hurricane, but the idea of having billions of gallons of water dumped on them out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know,
That's once in a generation thing.
And so when you talk about how everything slows down, you know, suddenly you're trying to get your state government to reach out to the feds and say, hey, we need help right now. And it slows up everything. Whereas Georgia, Florida, and everybody else, they were asking for federal assistance 4 or 5 days ahead of time.
But then, on top of that, throw in the fact that Ron DeSantis is on the ground. I mean, he is helping North Carolina. He said Florida sent its own research deployment unit to North Carolina. Federal government hadn't done anything. So the governor of Florida and Donald Trump are doing more than the Biden administration is right now to help Americans. On Friday, they sent an $8 billion check to Ukraine. Americans, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, look, two of the most presidential people, and maybe one of the other person that should have been a candidate in this election was Ron DeSantis, and that should have maybe been it. The reality is, yes, states are chipping in. They happen to be red states that are working. Alabama is sending. Mississippi is sending. They're all sending power companies and all of their linemen to these areas because that's the kind of system that people like Governor Brian Kemp, Governor Ron DeSantis, and others have set up so that states can help each other because they know the federal government's not going to be there. And I like what Ron DeSantis said yesterday. We got this. We know how to handle this better than you, and we're going to take care of this, and we're going to continue to work hard, and we at the state level will coordinate everything, and we're going to get you through this. Donald Trump came down to Georgia to help Brian Kemp send that message as well. The one mistake I think he made was just talking about how nobody called or he couldn't reach President Biden because you already know that they made their phone call. It doesn't matter what the phone call was. It probably was just like, hey, we're here. We don't know what we can do for you. We're probably not going to do anything for you. It was probably a worthless phone call. But when Donald Trump goes out there and says that, that's what they're going to pick up on. And that's exactly what the media picked up on yesterday was the fact that he, misspoke and said that Brian Kemp couldn't get in touch with Joe Biden. But the fact is, Joe Biden's not there, and he hasn't been in the White House.
Well, Joe Biden was asked about it by the press, and he flat out said, I was on the phone for 2 hours. Wait a minute, you were on the beach.
Yeah.
All right?
Wind whipping around. You can't talk on the phone on the beach.
I'm sorry. Anyone who's ever attempted to take a phone call on the beach, it doesn't happen.
Especially, would you do a work call from the beach?
No, of course not. But it really just gets back to when you want to highlight we want to look at Joe Biden and say, well, look, Joe's out to lunch, and he's not there. There's no difference with Kamala Harris. You are at what you have the Democrats essentially asking for is we want you to keep our cabal, our group in power. And it doesn't matter if it's really Kamala or Joe Biden. We are so good at handling this. You have to highlight that this group is not good at handling this because it is a Leviathan with a number of people making the call on this. Not one person.
Well, when you want to be a fly on the wall, I would love to have been a fly on the wall after Brian Kemp and the other governors hung up after talking to Kamala Harris and go, why is she even calling me at this point? Because that's all this was to her, was a photo op to make her look more presidential. Because as soon as she or they had the opportunity to take that photo, they took a photo and they didn't even put it all together. Again, she had pretending to write notes, completely staged. Here's the photo op. I made phone calls. How's this make me look? Doesn't it make me look presidential? And no, I don't think it does.
It looks just like her trip to the border. It lasted 20 minutes. It was a photo op.
Well, her whole campaign, right?
Well, yeah, but for sure. But I just mean it just with two pictures, two specific pictures in two major events that are happening in the United States: the invasion at the southern border, and then the disaster that was Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina. And both of them are using Los's word. AstroTurf, both of them.
Yeah. So we had the GPS data that ended up being published as of yesterday for her appearance in Arizona.
Yes.
And you had, once again...
You're going to shake some people. We got some phone calls this morning.
79% of the people were not from the area. They were bussed in. This continues to happen. This is all that AstroTurfing. This is all this illusionary tactic of, hey, we're in charge. Like, well, I know y'all are in charge as a group, but she's not in charge, and Joe Biden's not in charge. You're asking people to reelect this cabal. That's what you're asking for.
And you can't bust them to the polls. As much as you want, you cannot bust them to the polls. Well, I don't know. The Democrats are pretty good at making up votes.
If they can figure out a way, they will. But that or pay them or something. I don't know.
Or just say, hey, you're a non-citizen. Sure, you can vote.
I don't know. TheHill.com, we'll talk about it later in the show. They say she's toast. And The Hill says dude, she is done for, which is an interesting conversation coming from a leftist outlet like that. Another leftist outlet writer complains about you saying have a blessed day. Oh, my. Next on the Morning Extra, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The party that's been screaming the most about election interference from the Russians is wanting millions of people to cross the border legally and vote in our elections.
That's right. The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
By texting 64000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in Atlanta? We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in Atlanta for free. That's right. We'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FREE to 64,000. Atlanta is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Discover the simple steps developed by Joe Arias, one of real estate's greatest rags to riches stories. You'll learn to flip properties and secure rental properties without using your own money and in your spare time. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop next week right here in Atlanta and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FREE to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FREE to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FREE to 64,000.
With the upcoming election, an assassination attempt on President Trump, wars overseas, inflation, and stock market volatility, these are uncertain times. Do you have a plan? Are you prepared today to have a worry-free tomorrow? If you haven't been to True Prep, now is the time. True Prep is locally owned and operated by Joey and Matthew, who are Georgia Tech graduates. Visit True Prep on Cobb Parkway in Marietta or visit online at trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits. A $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-291-0628. That's 800-291-0628. 800-291-0628.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Tuesday, October 1st. Georgia Tech air quality experts detected elevated chlorine levels in the aftermath of the biolab chemical fire in Conyers, but said the levels were not harmful to the public. Rockdale County has rescinded its shelter-in-place and evacuation orders, allowing residents to return home. Firefighters have transitioned from extinguishing the blaze to removing chemicals that could pose a threat of reignition and further deterioration of air quality. The fire initially started around 5 a.m. when a sprinkler malfunctioned, causing water to come into contact with a water-reactive chemical, according to authorities. Fulton Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney issued an order overturning the state's 6-week heartbeat bill. According to the judge, abortions must be regulated as they were before the law took effect, which means they will be allowed until 22 weeks. Governor Brian Kemp responded saying, once again, the will of Georgians and their representatives has been overruled by the personal beliefs of one judge. Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr could ask the Supreme Court to block the ruling and reinstate the 6-week heartbeat bill. They will appeal the decision. And the final day of baseball season might be one of the most memorable endings in MLB history. The Braves and Mets played 2 makeup games to decide who would be heading to the playoffs. The Braves, who had a commanding lead after a brilliant pitching performance by rookie Spencer Schwellenbach, blew a 3-0 lead, allowing the Mets to come back and lead in the bottom of the 8th. The Braves then blew the lead again, resulting in a Mets 8-7 win. In the final game of the season, Grant Holmes took the mound and secured the win as the Braves beat the Mets 3-0, capturing the final wild card spot. The journey to the World Series begins today for the Braves, who head to San Diego to take on the Padres at 8:30. You can catch all the Braves postseason action beginning tonight on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Trump drags Hurricane Helene into the 2024 campaign. That's what Politico is reporting. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Isn't this the same people that said George Bush hate black people when they talked about Katrina? This is the same people that said that. So when it's convenient, it's okay to drag the hurricane stuff in, but otherwise, not so much. I just saw that headline. It just made me want to throw up in my mouth. I know we got some other things to talk about, but that's one of those things that just drives me crazy.
I know nobody wants the hurricane to be politics, but isn't it politics when FEMA and the government is supposed to be taking care of these situations and protecting these? So it is politics, regardless of whether you want it to be or not.
Government cannot take care of you in these major catastrophes.
Nope. Ever.
Can't get it done.
Big weekend, Georgia, Alabama. It started out, Georgia played the worst half of football that they've played in the past, 8 years. And then the second half, probably the best football that they've played in the past 8 years.
I do know someone who was there.
Yes, that's right, at 404-741-1230. Stephanie is on the line.
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Good. How was your trip to Tuscaloosa?
I have to tell you, T-Town is a phenomenal place.
So cool.
Loved it. People were so nice. It was clean. It was fun. Great restaurants, great drinks, great people. I'm never going back into Bryant-Denny Stadium again.
So what happened inside the stadium? Obviously, the game, didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. But
that's pretty much it. Just the end of the game. So
yeah.
Luckily, we spared ourselves a heartbreak. I said, we're leaving. We're not staying for the end of the game, so thank goodness.
Yeah, right.
Can I ask you?
I would have been devastated had I been there.
Oh yeah,
when that interception happened.
Can I ask you when Donald Trump was shown? Was the crowd overwhelmingly in support of Donald Trump, or was the AJC right? They were a lot of booing.
The AJC is completely wrong. It was really amazing when they showed Trump on the big screen. We were so high up. We had no idea where he was in the stadium. Now, we could see the guys in the blimp pretty clearly.
Hey, reach out and touch it.
It was pretty. I think if we had jumped, yes.
Yeah.
So it was really great. The big screen shows him, and it was almost as if for just a split second there was a complete gasp by the crowd. The noise level just changed, and then all of a sudden everyone erupted in cheers. USA broke out. My neighbor sitting next to me was an Alabama fan, and we had been talking the whole night. Her husband was a trumpet professor. My son plays the trombone. We were getting along great. But she looked at me, and we're cheering, going crazy, and she goes, "Are you?" And then she sort of pointed at him. I said, "Oh, absolutely." She said, "Hell yeah!" And then we kept cheering.
Are you? She was afraid to say it out loud.
Like they had to do the check.
Yeah. No, that's so funny. Yeah. That's so funny. Well, look, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience down at Bryant-Denny, because I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I've never been. I heard nothing but wonderful things about the experience in T-Town. So, well, there you go.
It's definitely worth a trip.
There you go. Good enough. Stephanie, thank you. God bless you. Have a great morning.
When we went to the game in 2021 with the Georgia-Alabama game, had friends of ours, Brian Hoyt, Frank Duffy, great support of the station in the past. Yeah. They were asking me about, well, where should we go? What should we do? And I go, well, the bars and the restaurants are over here. And they're like, well, how much would you go down there? I was like, I was 30 with a new kid.
Yeah,
I was like, if I was in town, I wasn't going to the college bars. But it's nice if you go as like adults with, let's say your wife, then that makes it a much more of a better
experience.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny, though, that they are trying to, because they've watched as these college stadiums, whether it's COVID and the way they treated Dr. Fauci or the way that they chanted FJB, the way that these college stadiums just erupt for kind of conservative ideas. It is kind of funny that they're like, hey, Tim, coach, why don't you go to the Minnesota game and go to Michigan and show that you're there and you're just like Trump. Let's try to pull that away. And it fell completely flat. So I do find it interesting that they are getting to the youth group by going to these college games more than anything else. They're not showing up at NFL. They're showing up at college because they know that's where the voters that are going to make the difference are. And I know that they put Tim Walz in that area because they're so afraid of that youth vote going to Donald Trump.
Goodness. And the crazy thing was that Walz is leaving, going through the tunnel, and people, he's waving, and I'm not sure who was waving or yelling or whatever, but we know one person said Trump 2024, and he stopped waving, shot that person the bird, and kept walking. That's the kind of unhinged person.
Oh, he's crazy.
That is going to be potentially your vice president with Kamala Harris if she is allowed to win this election.
It's just not the right place to go. You're trying to win Michigan. You're the governor of a state that you don't ever have to worry about it voting in your favor because the people there, it's just different. You go to the 84 election, Mondale won one state, Minnesota. That was it. Okay, that's it. So you thought it would be a good idea to show up at a Michigan game, a state you need, as a Minnesota fan and cheer for the Gophers in a state you need that's largely, when it comes to the football team, is going to be pretty Republican, pretty conservative.
Goodness, dude. And then flip people off. That's what you decided was a good idea. This is the way that those people think, though.
Yeah.
Maya Peg should be doing the same thing. She would do the same thing. She's a wonderful woman and politically an idiot.
But Trump is vulgar. Trump calls names.
Yeah.
So let's take a listen to this audio. This is going to start. This is Clay Travis and Donald Trump, and they start off the video just so you know what's showing at the time. They did a fraternity selection. Like when you ever see people having hats on the table and they decide which university they're committing to.
Yep.
They had a Trump one and a Kamala Harris one.
Right.
And they were simulating the commitment of what they're going to stand for.
Uh-huh.
And they were basically committing to Donald Trump. Take a listen as Clay Travis catches up with Donald Trump. He's got him up in the suite, and he starts asking him about the youth vote.
Today we had kids, Alabama, Georgia. We gave them a Kamala hat and a Trump hat. Everybody we asked was putting on the Trump hat. I think you're going to kill it with young kids, college kids, in a way that you haven't before.
Well, we see it, and we see where we're way up with young people and generally Republicans, including me. And the last time I was okay, but I wasn't great. We're up by like 30 points with the young people, so that's an honor. Look, they see what happens. They're very smart, and look at the way she berated them. She said they're not smart. They're much smarter than her. I'll be honest, but I think we're going to do really well. There's an energy. We did great in 2016. We frankly did better in 2020. The most votes ever gotten by a sitting president by far. There has never been energy like there is now, and I guess it's me, but you know what it is? It's also when they look at what's happened to our country. Our country's going bad. Our country is a very, very dangerous place right now when you look at what she's done at the border, but we love our country, and we're going to turn it around.
Thank God. And here's the thing. For those kids that are in college right now, the American dream, Wall Street Journal has reported on it, Newsweek's reported on it, they don't believe the American dream is attainable. And the majority of those kids are living in their parents' basement. They have no hope of buying a home anytime soon. Our own producer, Board Up, Goey Virgin River, he's in the same situation. There is repercussions for that, and it's pushing kids to be more conservative. Certainly young men the most.
Yeah.
But there is even a move with young women.
Well, I think what the women are seeing, and maybe I'm wrong in this, is they're tired of the idea that someone could be toxic masculine,
Like the people that are rescuing people in lakes and rivers right now, those toxic masculine men.
There are some people who understand that a woman can be as strong as any man. and I have my beautiful girlfriend, Erin, who I think is stronger than I am. And if I were to get in a bar fight, I'd push her in front of me because I know she'd whoop their butt.
You get him.
Yeah, you get him. But the reality of this is that she also needs the toxic masculinity or some of the things that I do bring as a man. And I think a lot of girls that are getting to that age now where they're like, hey, I do want to have the American dream. I want to have a family. I want to be able to have that white picket fence, the lawn. I want him to take care of the lawn. I want him to bring the garbage out. I want him to be a father and teach them how to do things. And I think more than ever now, the survival technique is starting to kick in for some of these women that are sitting here saying, I can be strong, I'm going to work, I'm going to do everything I can, but I also need a man in my life. Not a man who's going to put on his man bun and then we're going to be on the side of the street and a guy in a pickup truck's going to come over and help me change the tire because my man on the side has a flannel but doesn't understand how to actually do anything.
Let me know if we should do this at some point this week, because I was pondering this the other day. It was Bill Maher going after Gen Z, and I just thought to myself, it didn't feel proper, in part because Gen Z is facing a set of circumstances that I don't think we've had a generation since probably the 1920s and 30s that are having to go through this situation of their buying power being so reduced. And he brought up the signees of the Declaration of Independence. And when you recognize how young they were, that these people were looking to start a revolution and create a new country, and to recognize that, so many of what we have in the Constitution is setting age limits for presidency, for Senate, for Congress. So many of these men weren't even at the age. They were actually creating something that they wouldn't be able to take advantage of until later in life.
Right.
But that was that generation, that's what they were doing. And they get pointed at like, well, look what these people were doing at their age. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what these people at this age want to do, but they're looking to do it by getting rid of the administration that's put them in this situation.
Goodness gracious. I want to tell you all about a complete idiot. And I try not to call names.
A complete idiot.
I want to tell you about a complete idiot
I can't
by
wait.
the name of Clara Jeffrey.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Joe.
Yeah, wait, look. Biden or Virgin River?
You know what? I was going with Biden, but could have been either way.
I kid.
Although I don't think our Joe is,
no, he's coming around.
President Biden.
He's coming around. Clara Jeffrey is the editor-in-chief of Mother Jones. It's a website that's just as lefty crazy as you could possibly
If you want to dive into crazy on a regular basis, go to Mother Jones.
It's such a great one.
Absolutely.
Well, Vox is pretty good too.
Nuts. Yes. Yeah, but
I just think that Mother Jones, during the Trump era of his presidency, there was no better place to go for pure madness than MotherJones.com.
And let me tell you, it's back.
Oh, good.
Yeah. See, this woman, she complained after a flight attendant on a flight that she was on wished her and others a blessed evening on their flight to San Francisco. She said this is evidence of the creeping Christian nationalism on this Alaskan Air flights. This woman, she tweets, just wished us a blessed night as we landed in San Francisco.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I mean, hang on. The woman said, have a blessed day. And this lady says that is evidence of the creeping Christian nationalism. Beware that Christians are going to take over the world and tear it down limb from limb, I suppose. It's the dumbest thing that I think I've ever heard in my life. I've never heard any, with the exception of when people say bless your heart and it's clear they're saying you're a damned idiot. This woman was upset because the woman genuinely said, have a blessed evening. I can't think of a nicer thing to say. And this woman says it's creeping Christian nationalism. Y'all, that's the crazy that my Aunt Peg subscribes to. I love her, but she's crazy. Morning Extra, Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino with Lowe's. Already off to fireworks this morning, man. We've had a busy 6 o'clock hour, and when we come back, it gets even better. Oh, Kamala, she's changed her identity yet again. Next on the Morning Extra, until 10, then Beck playing Buck, and Kimmer. Only place you get that lineup is here on Extra.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
So you think the old Talkmaster's a pretty good guy, huh? No, not the way I've been thinking lately. I am so proud of the Israelis for their recent assaults on these Muslim goons who are dedicated to their eradication. Many years ago, perhaps even before you were born, the Israelis set up a little iPhone repair shop in the Gaza Strip. They waited until some Hamas leader came by to get his iPhone fixed. They fixed it. It worked just fine. Oh, yeah, but it had a little explosive device hidden in it. So after Mr. Hamas Hotshot came by to get his phone, when he left, they called him. Hello? Boom. Now they've really upped their game.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Mad Men. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Mad Men every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Election season is here, and regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, we can all experience the stress of uncertainty. Fear of the unknown can cause us to postpone important decisions that impact our lives, especially in retirement planning. Resist hesitation and contact Masterplan Retirement Consultants, a holistic retirement planning firm dedicated to creating a retirement plan to help with all of life's surprises. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life to see you to and through retirement. Don't leave your retirement up to chance. Create a plan for your retirement and pursue peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Your voice, your vote. And this year it matters more than ever. So for the unbiased election coverage that affects your family and your community, trust the voices that matter when it matters the most. Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
You probably have your favorite superhero. I mean, everybody seems to, even me, and I don't even keep up with superhero movies and that stuff. When I was a kid, I loved Spider-Man. In the last, I don't know, probably 15 years, I fell in love with Pootie Tang. He was a different level, this superhero. But Kamala Harris is on that same level, just amazing, and she's able to change her identity, Lowe's.
I always talk about being inauthentic, that she is basically deciding, okay, what does this crowd need to hear from me, and I'll do it. And we have a long history of this over the last 20 years where Democrats will go into different areas of the country and suddenly have different accents, or they'll suddenly start speaking differently. Kamala Harris gave us one that I don't think we've even seen before. We haven't certainly heard before, because there's been like stoic Kamala, holistic. We have to have a holistic approach.
Yeah.
Let's say it a couple more times.
I thought Dana Carvey was great. Her impressions of different accents from all around the country is amazing to me.
We've had Kamala Harris as far as down home Kamala Harris, where she was Southern all of a sudden, right? She was Southern when she came to the South, and she was speaking normally right when she headed back to Michigan.
Right.
All right. We now have super black Kamala. All right. So Kamala Harris
finally
decided that she was going to throw out a little bit of lingo, a little bit of a different accent, and here's what she went with.
Friends, my best friend from kindergarten is still one of my best friends.
That's crazy.
Right? Stacey Johnson.
Yeah, that's dope. I love it.
We used to go to the clubs in her father's Seville.
In her father's Seville. We used to go to clubs.
So she was doing a podcast with a couple of former NBA players, and she thought that what this podcast needed was for her to talk about going to the club.
Well, maybe it's because of what Janet Jackson said. Remember, Janet Jackson said
she went after her.
She is not black. I don't think she's black, and that's not me saying that.
That was Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson said. So, do you think though that influences her decision to make that in-show adjustment, if you will?
Well, Carlos, I think it's more of a hey, I have to get these people back in my camp, right? I mean, I think that's the idea. Is hey, look how many numbers we're losing in this. We're not anywhere near where we should be with black voters, and I think what Janet Jackson said, and there are many others, not just Janet Jackson, that feel the same way. But I think the polls made her say, hey, we got to find spots that I can relate. We got to go and find places that I think will see me as I'm black, I'm friendly, and I sound just like you. I go to the club like you. I do the things that you do. Don't listen to the right or anyone else when they doubt who I am.
So when I went after Anthony Fauci as a little evil dictator, and people are like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What are you? It's like, listen, I think that I do a pretty decent job of kind of surmising what somebody is, and then going, okay, Kamala Harris is a different kind of animal. I don't really understand how you do all this stuff until I heard somebody make the comparison to imposter syndrome. That when you have risen through the ranks, knowing your accomplishments were undeserved because of circumstance, where you were at, when you look at somebody who was not very good as a student in school, not a very high IQ, yet found their way through school, and then rose through power in the way that she did, riding coattails,
among other things.
Right. At a certain point, you do walk into these rooms and you don't have confidence.
Sure.
And I think that's what you hear from her in a lot of these cases.
I think you hear it in every interview she does, that she doesn't have confidence. She stammers through these interviews, and that's why you use words like holistic. You use words and you use distraction and unburdened by what has been, because you want to sound actually smarter than you actually are. And that is kind of a crutch for a lot of people who go, I'll just continue to repeat the same word to kind of just reemphasize my point, and they'll think I'm smarter and I actually know what I'm talking about, but there's no substance in my sentence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you just think about the other people that are involved in here, like Tim Walz is confident that he's crazy. Okay, he's just kind of out there. J.D. Vance knows, hey, I'm a hillbilly who did what I did in this world. Donald Trump, hey, I've been able to build this billion-dollar company, and I'm a real estate mogul. When you look at the very definition of imposter syndrome, and it basically points out those who have it may doubt their skills, talents, or accomplishments. They may have a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as frauds.
Yeah,
I think is her.
That's her.
Yeah, for sure it's her.
And it was funny on the podcast, All the Smoke, with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. They ask her the same questions that some of the media outlets have asked. Hey, what are you going to do to help folks that are struggling to pay for groceries and pay for gas and things like that? And she almost went down the path of, I was born in the middle class family, and she pivots away from it because in the moment she realizes that she has no idea what she's going to say, and she knows she said that a bunch, and it's been pointed out, and she's been caught. Because pretty much like what you're saying, that she's a fraud.
It's become a joke.
Yeah.
it was a joke for us for 2 weeks, where as soon as we would joke around about, you ask me a question, I would say, I grew up in a middle-class family.
Yeah.
And
it became a meme.
And it became a meme, and they know this. This is part of her campaign when it's run by a bunch of millennials and Gen Zs. That's who's basically surrounding this thing. And so I think she was coached up on it to the point where when that happened yesterday, I pointed out to my wife, and she even stopped down and said, "Oh, she almost did it again."
But she quickly, it's like she realizes it in the moment and tries to go away.
I know we were going to get into it next hour. Let's just do it here because we're talking about it. Okay, this is Kamala One. Take a listen. She's about to be asked about economic policy on this podcast, and she almost goes down the road of, "I was raised in a middle-class family."
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So, look, I grew up. So my sister and I were raised.
That's all you need right there.
She realized it.
She almost went into the canned answer.
Yeah, because it doesn't poll well. And everything about her is so fake that they're going to the polls to see what worked for the sheep, what worked for the people, what didn't. And when you come off of a weekend of amazing football and you start looking on the internet, I saw Carson Beck, a picture of him at a press conference, Alabama fans, of course, putting this up saying, don't blame him, he grew up in a middle-class family. Right? These are things
I didn't see that.
Oh, it was really funny.
Awesome.
It was really funny. But this has become a joke of an excuse for everyone, no matter what they get caught doing or doing wrong or anything. That's the excuse. And she knows that. And that's why it is so fake, and that's why she stammers. She's not actually speaking because she cares about the people. She's trying to win and retain power and get power. So she is doing exactly what Carlos said. She's not confident in her own abilities or her skills, so she's doing whatever they tell her to do, and she almost slipped.
Well, when your values haven't changed, and those are her words, right? Her values haven't changed. Imagine you're having to run a campaign, obviously in turbo mode, because you basically had 60 days to make this thing happen, where you have to hide all of your values while also talking about things that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to help the middle class? We don't do that in communism.
That's not our goal
That's
whatsoever.
not the goal ever.
Yeah,
well,
no, that's right.
She wants these prepackaged commercials that they've got more money than ever, and that's why she's got so much money. They know they can't put her out there for press conferences. They know they can't put her out there to speak, so they have to cut and paste everything the way they did with Joe Biden to make her look presidential in a way. So all her ads address that. I'm going to cut taxes for the middle class so that 100 millions of Americans will benefit from that. But she has no plan for that, and she knows it's not realistic, nor will it ever get done.
There you go.
By the way, just to reference how this continues to go. So this was Dearborn, Michigan, where Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was speaking just a couple of days ago. And he did the whole, I grew up in a middle, and the entire audience busted out loud because they immediately got it. They knew where it came from.
Everybody knows.
It's a joke.
It is. It's such a joke, and rightfully so. And it's fun to pounce on it. It's fun to point it out because they run from it every time they possibly can.
But Aunt Peg believes it.
Yeah,
Uncle
totally.
Chip believes it.
Oh,
I hear she grew up in a middle class family.
Totally believes it.
She knows me.
She knows how to buy eggs.
The CBS debate will be heard tonight at 10 here on Extra 106. At 10 at 9 here on Extra 106.9 to 10. Yeah, seriously, it's late
Till 10. Good luck on that too.
Seriously, I hope I can stay awake that late. But it was funny because they said they wouldn't fact check in real time. And so I still have the question. You got people that are anti-Trump, and they've been anti-Trump. There's so much documentation of it. So maybe they won't. Mm-hmm. Maybe they won't fact check in real time, but it'll still be 3-on-1. It's still going to be that.
J.D. Vance is Trump in their minds, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to just do the same exact thing to J.D. Vance, and hopefully he'll be able to battle that a little bit and hopefully get through that. But I think they know that Tim Walz is going to get the floor wiped with him, and they're going to do anything they can to help Tim Walz and Kamala Harris because that's who CBS is.
Well, this is not going to be a debate of huge consequence. They very rarely ever are. But in this era of social media, all you're looking for is, can you get one weird moment of Tim Walz waving, doing weird stuff,
Yes, you can.
having a weird discussion
Guarantee
point. That's all you're looking for.
Oh, I think he comes out so like with his hands because again, I think they do the same thing with him. They do with
Sit on
Kamala.
your hands. Stop waving at people.
Like, stop
Sit
waving.
with
you look
both
like
hands.
Yeah.
You look way too feminine. Stop
Yeah.
doing that.
Such a weirdo. That dude is such a weirdo. And all reports are that he's nervous as a long-tailed cat.
Well, he should
rockers.
be.
Yes, he should
He's
be.
a good debater, though. He really is a good debater. So, but then again, he's always been debating
He said
his own
he's
people.
not. He said himself he's not.
Well, that's like you being Georgia #1 playing Appalachian State. You're going to say, hey, this is a tough team out there. I'm not going to, they're a good team. We're not, we got to play our best.
Could be. Yeah.
I think
like
it's one of those.
downplaying the
I
expectations.
think
Could
so.
be.
He is a pretty good debater. I've watched some of the debates, and Tom Emmer, who has been playing him for J.D. Vance, said he does a really good job when he's debating. But again, he's been debating Democrats.
When we come back, Kamala is in full rehearsed speech mode. We'll talk about it every time you see her. Next on Extra 106.3 after a Fox News update.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Throughout my talk radio career, it was always very popular for liberals to call conservatives Nazis. What better way to demonize your political opponents than to tie them to one of the most hated names in history?
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Extra 106.3 listeners are falling in love with Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell.
Me and my wife now find our favorite sandwich place. That food over there was great.
Yeah, those rolls are so soft and sweet. I mean, it was just melt in your mouth. It was, and the steak was tender and juicy and flavorful. I can't say enough about it. It was very, very impressive.
It was so good.
Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner. Nucky'sHoagies.com.
Are you the type of consumer that likes to do your research before you choose a company? Well, then you need to join Dan Watkins, Chris Lolamy, and myself, Jim Niarchos, every Saturday morning at 9 for the All Four Seasons Home Show. We only vet local businesses with a proven history of integrity, competence, and solid customer service. The All Four Seasons Home Show helps you make a good consumer decision, save money, and not get ripped off. You can also follow our podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The All Four Seasons Home Show, Saturday mornings at 9, right here on Extra 106.3.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. In the winter of 2023, the nation's attention focused on East Palestine, Ohio, after a major train derailment which fouled the water and surrounding environment. But even though Republican Ohio Senator and GOP Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance and Democratic Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown teamed up to craft a rail safety bill, the measure stalled. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said he'd bring the bill to the floor, and although all Democrats backed the bill, only 7 Republicans supported the plan. East Palestine residents are still dealing with the environmental consequences of the railway chemical spill. Schumer told Democrats he'd like to make the issue a legislative priority by the end of the year, but don't expect anything on the bill before the election. Vance is now one of the most controversial politicians in the country, and Brown is embroiled in one of the tightest Senate races of the 2024 cycle, so don't expect anything soon. Former President Trump won the Buckeye State by 8 points in 2020. Republicans are loath to give Brown a bipartisan win, and frankly, Democrats are reluctant to now help out Vance too. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Extra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home. They're showing that he was a puppet and that she's a puppet. They've showed their hand. It's basically all out in the open now.
The only political party in the history of the world, of any country, anywhere in the world, that's performed a coup against its enemy and its own guy. They performed a coup against Donald Trump and a coup against their own president of the United States.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Instead of working, they're picketing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Those dock workers in Elizabeth, New Jersey are among about 50,000 who went on strike after midnight from Maine to Texas.
The offers that we had, it didn't work out. And I just told them, so long, goodbye, I'm going with my members.
International Longshoremen's Union President Harold Daggett. The ports being shut down are
responsible for about half of all U.S. imports and billions of dollars in trade a month. And products will not be able to be imported or exported during the strike. This includes chemicals, iron and steel, medical equipment, furniture, vehicles, machinery, and electric machinery.
That's Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti. Air sirens have gone off in Israel as Hezbollah fires more rockets and says it's ready for a direct confrontation with Israeli troops who've moved into Lebanon, warning residents across the border to evacuate.
These localized ground raids will target Hezbollah strongholds that threaten Israeli towns, kibbutzim, and communities along our border.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, after recent airstrikes, killed Hezbollah's leader and other senior Iran-backed militants. It's up to at least 128 deaths blamed on Hurricane Helene, which did a lot of damage from Florida to the Carolinas. Storm victims still in need or in some cases rescue.
The fact of the matter is it's not happening fast enough, and aid groups are trying to get in. National Guard is trying, but there are people in dire straits as we speak right now. A lot of help is needed here.
That's Fox Weather's Robert Ray in Asheville, North Carolina. There's still more than 1 million power outages, hundreds of people unaccounted for. A former president is a birthday boy. Jimmy Carter turned 100 today. President Biden told him in a message,
"Put simply, Mr. President, I admire you so darn much."
Carter remains in hospice care at his home in Georgia, our oldest ex-president ever. He's lived 43 years after leaving office. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Wake up with a Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 Atlanta.
Lord. The dock worker strike I find very interesting. I understand their concern. I think a lot of people that are working in technology fields have the same concerns that technology is going to put them out of business. We talk about it all the time with web designers and people that set up email servers for companies and whatever. It's going to be automated. All that stuff's going to be automated. And I've had that discussion with a dear friend of mine who works in technology. But the difference is the dock workers, I mean, they do have incredible leverage right now. They have unbelievable leverage because it's them doing the work. But 5 years from now, probably not. 10 years from now, definitely not. So I understand why they're upset. But when they say, we want these companies to use no automation, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. The fact that these companies are not going to employ technology is absolutely ridiculous. You're not putting the genie back in the bottle.
No, there's certain levels of technology that once that train is rolling, it's not going to stop.
It just makes no sense. So
you're going to negotiate the idea that you're not going to implement technology to help you become more efficient.
So what's going to happen is these companies are going to just work around whatever the deal is. They're going to work outside of that and come around the other way and basically backdoor it in.
There's always a way to make that happen.
Absolutely. It just makes no sense whatsoever. So take the money while it's on the table because they offered them a pretty good little hefty sum And yet they said no, and the linchpin is all the technology. Look at ports around the world. There's very few people that are actually doing those jobs. It's all automated. It's all robotics.
Yeah, and look, that's the world we live in at this point. We've gone this route, and there's something to be said about vocational schools, and I think that's why a lot of people are talking about when we send our kids to schools, we're not going to those Ivy League liberal schools. We're not going to the schools that don't deliver. Let's go to areas where we'll be able to have our children succeed in the future.
Trade schools.
Oh, it's always going to be a challenge because you thought to yourself, and it's honest work. If you're going to work as a dock worker, you're thinking, I do this, I work this machinery, I'm working with my hands, I make sure I get products and services to people. I get it off the ship, get it over, it ends up in your store shelves. The problem ends up being it's that once automation kicks in, it's not like AC repair. It's like that's still going to require somebody.
Plumbing.
It's going to require somebody.
Welding. Yeah.
This is now turned into, here are the RDFI codes. Here's where this is sent. Here's the machine that comes to get it. It's just there's, and they were told probably, hey, this is a blue collar good job. You're working with your hands. You're making stuff happen. And automation found a way to start eliminating some of these things.
I tell you, man, our own jobs here, what we do, could absolutely be done by AI. Somebody could just type it out. Now, it's not going to have a realistic feel to it, but who says 10 years from now it won't?
This is happening more so on the FMDJ end.
Without a doubt.
Where you are now having I'm typing up the script, here's what I want, here's how the inflection's going to sound, and I can just bang through a bunch of these, and here's this automated voice that ends up hosting all around the country. It's different when you're having to host a show, but it might get to the point where AI is hosting a show.
I expect at some point it will. I don't think it'll eliminate every job. I don't think it'll eliminate every podcast, but it's going to have its place. Mm-hmm. There is no doubt in my mind, automation, because it's done that for years. They've just automated, like where you're talking about the FM radio DJ, just because I do that work too. You have the moment where it is one person on 40 or 50 stations, and it's just completely automated. So the next step is, how do I eliminate paying that person and just make it AI voice?
Yeah, Tug's not really here.
That's right.
To be honest, there's no Tug here. It's just really me and Lowe's.
Auto Tug.
It's Auto Tug. And no, but that's what some of the fear for, especially for FM DJs, when it comes to music. And now that you have things like Spotify, which has DJ, I think it's a DJ X is the name they use, and he just kind of programs everything to you from your way you listen. That's the way that radio is going. I think there's a spot for what we do and having a talk radio station. I don't think that changes as much because you can't bring the emotion in, and then you can't also bring in human nature and a soul, and I think that's where the difference is. And hopefully the same thing happens with FM, especially in the morning shows. Those people are doing a hard work by trying to find a way to entertain people, and some of that comes through their comedy. Some of you may find some of their comedy funny or not, but whatever, it is a human emotion that I don't think you can replace. So hopefully some of those jobs, but automation is going to take a lot of jobs.
Without a doubt, man. Absolutely right.
Graphic artist, graphic design,
web design.
That is already going that direction.
No doubt.
It's shocking how quickly you can, I remember there were people that made a significant amount of money by just doing logo designs.
Yes.
And now that is done within seconds.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's amazing.
I think that's the weird part.
Is it unfortunate? Because it's amazing at the same time.
It is amazing. And, some people will learn how to use those tools. And I've talked to a lot of graphic designers because that's where I started off. I like doing web design. I know how to write code. I know how to do all that. Now, in the reality, when I go into Dreamweaver, it's a lot easier for me to say, hey, this is the code I need written. The AI does it, and I plug it in. Now, it takes a certain design or an artist's eye to see how all things come together, and the color schemes, and putting it together, and putting the videos in, and finding the information you want on there. So maybe you have to learn how to transition into a different role. So maybe there are ways to save those. But eventually, the computer, you'll say, hey, here's how I want a website. These are the things I want. And they're already working on it, and you'll never need any of those designers again.
No,
it's all going to be salespeople.
But the dock workers, they want to say no, we're not going to allow that stupid technology in our in our marketplace. Well, good luck with all that.
Yeah.
You may win the battle. You may. And I expect they will. You may win the battle. You will lose the war.
But that's part of the problem with these unions and part of the issues of that they don't see ahead. And I say it all the time about Harris and Biden. They are never proactive and see what's coming. The reality of it is this. When you attack corporations, when you attack capitalism and you say, hey, you're going to pay your fair share, everybody who has any kind of economic sense says, well, what they mean by fair share is they're going to raise their taxes. So they'll find ways to make this workload cheaper by hiring automated, computers, machines, and others, and get rid of the people that demand more money.
Well, you accelerate, and what happens is, the invisible hand of the economy. What happens in a free and open economy. Once you decide, all right, I got you right where I need you if you're a union. And you may score and win the day, and good for you. If you struck while the iron was hot, you did. But you also force those companies to now accelerate their investment, and they're looking into automation so that by the next time this thing comes around, when that union contract is up in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they're ready to gut a whole ton of people.
Yeah.
And just implement what they've been sitting on.
Right.
It's just giving them nothing but time to prepare.
Honestly, I'd probably take the 5-year win for the time period, and then I'll deal with it down the road.
For sure.
But you force the companies to now do that.
Yeah, no question about it. Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. 7 o'clock hours brought to you by Van Sant Law. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. Kamala Harris, we talked about this a little bit last hour. We'll get into it now again. And the fact that she is unable to be a normal human being. She can't have a discussion, a conversation with people because she goes back to her scripting. She goes back to what she rehearsed the night that she debated Donald Trump.
It was one scripted answer after another, one prepared speech after another. And that was by design. If we believe the ABC whistleblowers, they gave her the topics ahead of time. So she knew, again, not the question so much as
not the exact
here's the
question,
general areas we're going to hit.
Yep.
So it made it much easier to decide, here's how I'm going to attack this. And so when she was asked a direct question about how do you plan to improve the economy, she went into the
mini speech,
canned speech of I grew up in a middle class household. I want you to take a listen. This is from the All That Smoke podcast. Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, who both of those guys would have fought you in the NBA if you'd given them a weird look in their day. Okay, it's kind of interesting to see these guys be very poignant. I'm like, man, both you guys started fights all the time. That was what your role was.
I wish they would have started a fight with her since they didn't give it any answers.
So we played a small portion of this, but I want you to hear all of it in context. Because take a listen. They're going to ask the general question that she has not been able to answer. It's on economic policy. Can you give us the specifics of what you plan to do? And she's going to meander all the way around to community banks without ever explaining how it's going to affect the regular everyday person trying to make ends meet.
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So, look, I grew up, my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was, by all of our accounts and feelings, our second mother. She helped raise us. And so she was a small business owner. So I'll start with the small business, and congratulations on what you guys have done. I, from a child, knew who our small business owners are, right? I mean, you're business leaders, but you're also civic leaders. You take seriously your voice.
All right, what are you going to do?
How you can mentor, how you can grow, right? Communities and the sense of communities. I love our small businesses. And so a lot of my work in terms of building and growing the economy has focused on small businesses. And my vision overall is we need to build an opportunity economy in which we increase opportunity for all, including small business owners. So a lot of my work, even in the Senate, was about increasing access to capital through our small businesses, and in particular through our community banks. So I've been responsible for billions of dollars more now going into our community banks, because they're in the community, and then they know who's in the community and where the talent is, and who's doing good in the community, what the community wants.
Community.
And so part of my plan as president...
opportunity.
Is
opportunity.
We're still waiting on what is.
Look, the reality is she's throwing out there that all small businesses will get $50,000 to start up. Now, it sounds great. It's how, look at that. I could get $50,000.
No idea where she's getting the money to pay for it. We know that too.
Right. Well, we do.
Yeah, they just
From
print
our
it.
pockets.
They just print it, yes.
And what's the reality of small businesses? Most small businesses don't make it through the first year or the first 3 years in general. So the $50,000 will probably go away and disappear, and it'll just be a waste of money. And that's unfortunate because a lot of small businesses don't take off the ground. Then they have to find a way to go ahead and continue to make money, which is why you see in a lot of small businesses now, when they don't get those loans or they get these loans or the tax breaks, they never qualify enough because they end up not making a profit. And that's what ends up happening with a lot of these small businesses. Now, if you know anything about economy, you know that. Otherwise, on the surface, that sounds great. You're getting an opportunity at $50,000 to start a business, but do you really qualify for it? That's going to be the question. Number one, and number two, who's paying for it?
It's strange that she has decided to take COVID-era spending, which was insane and completely ridiculous in terms of we shut down the economy, and then we started basically printing and spending. That's what we were doing. And she was in the Senate at the time, and she agreed with these small business loans that were going out that ended up becoming grants as long as you were able to hold on to your employees for a certain amount of time period. Everyone who lived through that knew how wildly crazy, irresponsible spending that was, and it created an inflationary environment that we live with to this day. The fact that she's taking credit for that type of spending and saying, I was helping, look what I did, I put billions in. You printed and sent billions into the economy that ended up, why is the value of my home, why is it so freaking high? It's because my dollar doesn't buy that much anymore.
That's right.
That's what is going on here. And so she's taking credit for COVID-era spending and saying, look how much capital we put in the market for small business.
I know this is way out of what we're talking about, but going back to what she said in the beginning when she almost said, I was, I grew up in a middle-class family. When she almost said it and she deviated around it. But then she goes on to say that we lived in an apartment above a small business. Y'all, that's not middle class. Is she lying about growing up in a middle class family? Because that's not what middle class families do. They live in a nice home in the middle, in a regular neighborhood. They're not millionaires, but they're not living in apartments above small businesses. Even that doesn't add up when she talks about it. And it just came to me as we were listening to her say that again.
Yeah, look, she has no idea. She has nothing. She's just being given these words to say, and that's all she can do. And that's why she continues to go in a circle about, community. But the reality of what's happened since the pandemic, when people were given money to fix their small businesses or hopefully save them from failing, it didn't work. In fact, as you look through the years of the Biden-Harris administration, you see that you started at 34% of small businesses closed after 2021. Then you saw it tick up to 56% of other small businesses closed in 2022. 2023, 66%. You're losing small businesses. And again, it goes back to why I said the government gave them money, but they weren't going to succeed in the first place. They were just kicking the can down the road till no longer could a small business afford to stay open. Eventually, they will close. It's a failed economic idea. There's no opportunity economy. It's a made-up thought, the way the Germans and other communists have used in the past to say, we're going to give you guys a lot of stuff for free, and we're going to give you prosperity, so vote for us.
I don't think that anybody's buying her BS, except for Aunt Peg. Like that, people like that.
There's plenty of Aunt Pegs.
There's beyond, they're beyond the help. But I don't think anybody that is paying attention, that is going, I don't know who I want to vote for. Trump irritates me by some of the things he does, and I just can't figure out. When you hear the two of them talk and you see the actions of the two of them, I think it becomes pretty clear who you'll vote for or need to vote for.
Well, we don't have exit polling anymore because we've butchered this process entirely. But one of the things we used to be able to find out was, okay, well, what influenced you? That's what the part of exit polling was. Now, I think one of the things we're going to go back to is it's very similar to when I think it was CNN that ended up having like the 11 independents, and you had 8 of them after the debate that were like, we still don't know anything about her.
That's my point. Exactly right, man. And no one does. And it's not like you're going to find out a bunch tonight on the vice presidential debate.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You might find out some things about Tim Walz. I have a feeling you're going to find out some things there. And that whole Hillary warning, and we're going to get to that a little later in the show, Hillary warning of the October surprise. Something tells me that's something to do with his connections in China. Just something tells me that's what that October surprise that she keeps alluding to is going to be.
We'll find out. Real quick, here's some stats. 50% of small enterprises fail in their first 12 months. 42% of small businesses fail because of the lack of demand of their product. Over two-thirds, 66% of small businesses struggle financially and end up closing.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. When we continue, we'll knock out the headlines and speak to the Talkmaster Neil Bortz here on Extra 106.3. The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Tug, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Really, the lottery is a pure sucker's game. Listen to this. The poorest households in this country pay 33% more of their income on lottery tickets than the filthy, evil rich do.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening.
I would say anyone who's working in any industry could use our services.
A couple of the clients that people tend to not even think about are churches, volunteer organizations. We do a lot of background checks for referee associations. Anybody who's going to be around kids or older adults or anybody vulnerable, you really need to do a background check that includes a criminal history, a sex offender registry search, and anything else that's really relevant to your organization, just to make sure that the people who you're putting in touch with, kids and other vulnerable people, are who you think they are, and that you're not putting your clientele at risk.
So we're going to help you reduce your risk. We're going to help you hire the right person on the front end so that you don't spend all this time with training and all those kind of things and then realize that wasn't a good hire.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPsETC.com.
Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and I saw a statistic recently that jumped out at me. In 2017, home equity grew by a staggering $908 billion in America. That represents a 12% increase year over year. For most Americans, home equity is the biggest chunk of their personal wealth. At realestateagentsitrust.com, we see adult children who seek our help and sell their parents' homes. Often, the home is in a distant city and the condition of the home can be poor. And of course, our agents at realestateagentsitrust.com go above and beyond to help those families sell these homes. And that's a great feeling for everybody involved, including us. But it makes me wonder if there might be a better way. Have you considered looking at the equity you have in your home? It might be smart to sell now and downsize and have that equity to enjoy your golden years. If so, I urge you to go to realestateagentsitrust.com and let one of our agents see what might be possible by leveraging the equity in your home. realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Tuesday, October 1st. Rockdale County has rescinded its shelter-in-place and evacuation orders, allowing residents to return home. Firefighters have transitioned from extinguishing the blaze at the biolab to remove remaining chemicals that could pose a threat of reignition and further deterioration of air quality. The fire initially started around 5 a.m. Sunday when a sprinkler malfunctioned, causing water to come into contact with a water-reactive chemical, according to authorities. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney issued an order overturning the state of Georgia's 6-week heartbeat bill. According to the judge, abortions must be regulated as they were before the law took effect, which means they will be allowed until 22 weeks. Governor Brian Kemp responded saying, once again, the will of Georgians and the representatives has been overruled by the personal beliefs of one judge. The Attorney General's office is expected to appeal the decision. The final day of baseball season may have been one of the most memorable endings in MLB history. The Braves and Mets played 2 makeup games to decide who would be heading to the playoffs. The Braves blew an early 3-0 lead in Game 1 and lost the game 8-7 to the Mets. In the final game of the season, Grant Holmes took the mound and secured the win as the Braves beat the Mets 3-0, capturing the final wildcard spot. The journey to the World Series begins today for the Braves, who head to San Diego to take on the Padres at 8:30. You can catch all the Braves postseason action beginning tonight on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Talkmaster Neil Bortz joins us on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Neil, glad to have you. How are you, bud?
I was born in a middle-class family.
How are you now?
Here we go.
Have you been rehearsing?
That absolves you of everything.
Well, I mean, isn't that the be-all and end-all of everything now?
It is. Yeah, anything you need to say or do, or if you need to elevate yourself, or if you need to shield yourself from some sort of accountability, that's what you use.
Now we know that Mala, I've taken it upon myself to put an apostrophe after the first K-A.
Like Joe Biden?
Oh, yeah, Joe Biden. Well, it seems to be the thing now, that all ethnic names have to have an apostrophe somewhere in there.
Well, like to hug.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the old what was it a Key and Peele sketch that they did, or was it just the one dude by himself? Do y'all know when he did the whole skit about names,
the substitute teacher?
Yeah.
It was all of them.
So good.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know what the next thing is going to be. Let's see. We've done the pants down around your knees. Mm-hmm. We've done the braids. I don't know. I'm so trendy.
Yes, you are, and that's what we like about you.
I really am.
So
you know what the great news of the day is? Now, I want to ask you, am I a bad person? I mean, be honest with me when I tell you this. Am I a bad person? Because I absolutely love the idea of that Nasrallah Islamic goon choking and dying from toxic fumes in his little bunker in Lebanon. I mean, when they pulled his worthless body out of that bunker, there were no physical injuries to his body. You've read that, haven't you?
Yes.
No physical injuries. He died from toxic fumes. It was an agonizing death. In my mind, it could not have been agonizing enough. And I'm thinking, boy, wait till he sees the virgins. He thinks that was agonizing. So does that make me a bad person?
No, because when it comes to cancer and terrorism, those are the two things that I say, there's nothing bad enough that can happen to them. At all.
Nothing bad enough that can happen to cancer?
Yeah, as in, like, if you can eradicate it, get rid of it, if you can destroy it, awesome. I feel the exact same thing about terrorists.
No, I do too. Absolutely. And looters. I want to add looters to the mix. The looters are out after the hurricane. I think that when a disaster is declared in an area because of a disaster like this hurricane, that the rules need to be changed. The rules need to be tweaked. And that is, if you find anybody, I don't care if they're pink, anybody in a property that they do not own, and they're not in there rescuing somebody, you can just pew, on site, clink them, take them out. These damn looters that come around after a hurricane. You know, we had the hurricanes, the nasty one 2 years ago, Ian, down here, and the looters got on Alligator Alley from Fort Lauderdale, Miami especially, and came over here to do their thing. You know, there's a lot of money over there in Southwest Florida where this hurricane hit. Let's go over there and get some of it now. And I have no problem with shooting them on site. So am I a bad person?
No, because I will tell you that in our neighborhood in Florida after Hurricane Michael, there were signs actually posted outside, if you loot, we shoot.
I like
Just
that.
letting you know there's one way in here, and if you want to come in here and mess around, this is what's going to happen.
And Michael was the hurricane that took out my airplane.
Oh, no. That's the one that got it?
Yeah, we were in Naples, of course. Here comes a hurricane, and excuse me. Well, let's get away from the coast. Hopped in the airplane and flew up to Kissimmee, and at the Kissimmee airport, I begged them, put my airplane in the hangar. Would you? Okay, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And they put the airplane in the hangar. We went to the Wilderness Lodge at Walt Disney World. That's where we sat out the hurricane. The next morning, I go over to the airport to check out the airplane, and the hangar had collapsed on my airplane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the hurricane had taken a bad turn, spawned some tornadoes, and it was a tornado that went through there. But here's the kicker: the hangar collapsed overnight onto my airplane, totaled it, and the FBO, fixed base operator, charged me for rent for that hangar space for that.
on a building that had collapsed.
Yeah, and they charged me for the rent.
Were you able to dispute that?
No, they said, well, it was still in the hangar.
Well, yeah, but the hangar's not standing up. And now my plane is destroyed because the hangar's not standing up.
There was no guarantee.
Now, that seems low down, Neil Bortz.
Yes, well, it does. And, it's not the first time. I know you guys because I've been listening to you, okay? And I would not want to compete against you in talk radio.
You're being very kind, and I appreciate that.
Seriously, I would not. Luddite. Have you ever heard of the word?
No, what is this?
Luddite.
Luddite.
Yeah.
Nope, got nothing. What is it?
It was a movement in Great...
I'm seeing this right now, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Read it out.
A person opposed to new technology or ways of working.
Okay. There you go.
That's what those dock workers are.
Absolutely they are. And I wish we could find a way, while they're out on strike, that they not be permitted to use automation in any aspect of their personal lives.
Right, yeah, no heisters, no, you got to pick up everything by hand and tote it.
Yeah. Yeah, and go seize their trash compactors.
Yeah,
and when they go to McDonald's, they have to deal with the counter. They can't use the fan. No automation. If they're driving an automatic transmission car, park that sucker. Go back to 3 on the tree or 4. There has to be a way to do that.
Sure. Or go back to horse and buggy.
Horse and buggy, go all the way back.
Technology, right? I
mean, every technology is part of automation one way or another, whether it's a pallet jack instead.
No phones, no computers, nothing.
Nope.
Do they really think that there's any way in hell that they're going to get the public behind them?
No, especially when this stuff starts hitting. And if you heard the representative talking about crippling the American economy pretty much, when people start having trouble getting anything at the grocery store because there's already grocery store chains that are starting to fly and things that are going to be more expensive than shipping them the traditional way, and people start getting hit with this in their pocketbooks, do you think they're going to be mad at the companies, or are they going to be mad at the employees that are striking?
No.
Yeah, they're going to be mad at the employees. They're going to be like, fools, get back to work.
Well, Joe Biden can stop this thing right now.
He would never.
And all he needs to stop this thing is, look, I agree with the idea of a new contract. I believe in the collective bargaining for increased wages and benefits. That's all fine. But this idea that the companies cannot be allowed to use automation is so patently useless, that I'm going to use my powers as president and call an end to the strike right now.
Yeah.
Go back and try it again without this ridiculous ban on any future automation. But he won't do that. Maybe Kamala won't let him do that.
Well, I don't know if it's Kamala, but, he came out on the runway when asked about what was going on in Lebanon, and he said he was going to use the collective bargaining agreement for that. So I don't know if you can use it for both. And that's the problem, is that we don't have a leader who actually understands what's happening at the ports. He doesn't understand what's happening anywhere around him besides the beach. And that's where the big problem is. So this won't come to a close because of a president or leadership.
Oh, speaking of the beach, did you hear Trump yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Biden at the beach. He said, I should go to the beach. Something like, I have the most beautiful body you've ever seen.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Well, there is a whole lot of hyperbole.
Yeah. It's very trolling. It's very trolling. And those are the things that I think kind of throw him off of what his good messages are. Him being in Valdosta yesterday, I thought was very good when he talked about what they're going to do and bringing Elon Musk in and bringing Starlink to the people so that they can have communication with FEMA and the federal government and that they wouldn't be cut off from the rest of the world. That's good. Then it's bad when you go and say Brian Kemp never talked to him, when Brian Kemp just put out a press release saying, I talked to Joe Biden. We appreciate his help.
Well, Starlink, by the way, has, and the Bortz bus was built with DirecTV.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that little back there on the roof, push a button, and the satellite goes and searches out the satellites, and you have a little readout of which satellites it's locked onto. No, hell no. It's still up there, but it hasn't been used for a couple of years because we converted the Bortz bus to Starlink.
Mm.
So right now, I'm talking to you over Starlink. Oh, there it goes.
What happened to Starlink?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But Starlink did an amazing job up there in Asheville and in western North Carolina. They have put Starlink links systems up at some public places, and the people are just lining up on the sidewalks. It looks like they're waiting for autographs to use this Starlink to connect with loved ones. On Facebook, I follow a set of twins. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
tell me
why
more.
Do I follow?
Tell more. Yeah.
No. I follow a set of twins. Why do I follow them? Gorgeous, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And they're down to earth, just down to earth people. One of the twins was in western North Carolina, and the other twin was absolutely beside herself in her Facebook posting. Somebody help, please! I've got to contact my sister. I got to know that everything's okay. Then it's the private sector. Who is it? It's the private sector that finally comes along and establishes the links that allows these two people and thousands more to find out that their loved ones are still alive, still drawing breath, still looking for a way to get out of that mess. It's not the government that went in there and set up those Starlink links. It's the private sector.
Talkmaster Neil Bortz joins us on the Morning Extra. And Neil, when your car gets washed out with salt water, when the entire network...
Tell me about it, Ace.
Yeah, when the entire network is down and you can't make contact with anyone in the outside world, that's when you start realizing how important private industry is when they show up and they set up these systems.
Absolutely.
But it also shows...
You also notice it when you see 500 power trucks from private power and light companies gathered in one place and ready to scatter out there and get people online. And by the way, with all of these in Florida, it's Florida Power and Light and what have you, Georgia Power, whatever. Have you noticed how few of those trucks run on electricity?
All gas guzzlers.
Yeah.
Well, it's because the salt water. You're seeing some of the rainwater and salt water mixing with EVs, and they're setting themselves on fire. There's been so many videos of that. That doesn't, even though the car is destroyed, if it's just a regular traditional, internal combustion engine, at least it's not setting itself on fire.
Yeah.
No. Well,
Neil, are you okay?
No, it's the damn psilocybin.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go.
Oh, hey.
So anyway, I thought it was supposed to be just a little eighth of a teaspoon. I thought it was supposed to be a teaspoon. Never mind.
You weren't wearing your glasses and you did a full tablespoon. I get it. Well, let me ask you this, Neil. Anymore. Do you think that, Donald Trump would be able to capitalize on the fact that, number one, he's got Elon Musk working on his transition team. Number two, he did deliver Starlink and continues to do so. And when you look at the infrastructure bill that they said they're going to deliver high-speed internet, the government, and haven't done a thing with it, with all our taxpayer money, didn't get internet to any of these small communities. Can Donald Trump leverage that political point and get it out there enough to make people realize the government is wasting their time and let private industry handle it?
In an ideal world, yes, he could. But he's still going to go off on these tangents. Kamala Harris is mentally disabled, blah, blah, blah. He's still going to go off on the personal insult train that I'm afraid it turns off a lot of people. If he had run a straight, fact-based campaign looking to a responsible future for America and stopped all of this, I know more about X than anybody. I have the most beautiful body in the world. Kamala Harris is an idiot and mentally defective. If he'd have stayed on the straight and narrow, this wouldn't be a contest. How could it be a contest against somebody with absolutely no accomplishments to her name ever in her life, except that she made Willie Brown groan a few times.
We do all realize, though, in the context of Donald Trump, he's about 60% former president, about 30% showman, and about 10% part-time comedian. I think that's part of why he does this, Neil, is he gets to get up in front of people and at some point just issue jokes.
Oh, I wish you guys had worked personally with him.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to let. It's similar to like when the guys get on me for watching certain shows and they say, "How can you watch that show knowing that person's politics?" I'm not going to mix the two. Yeah. It's too important.
What are we talking about? Peppa Pig here?
Has Peppa gone left? What happened?
What happened to Peppa?
Neil, you've been known for the people upsetting people, saying things that people took in one way. Look,
me?
Yeah, you, and even yesterday. Well,
just
okay,
one example.
Yesterday, you put up on Facebook, and we have a friend that worked with you, or at least I do. I worked with him for a long time, and I'm not going to say his name, but he apparently was upset that you blocked him after making a comment about commercials and the weird commercials that they show nowadays that you have to blend an entire family.
About.
Oh, you know
You're
exactly what I'm talking about.
You're talking about Mike Rose.
Yes,
that
sir.
Dork, you know
that dork. Oh.
You know why I blocked him? And I blocked him for the same people, for the same reason I'll block anybody else. Okay? Ageism. Mm-hmm. He can say whatever the hell he wants.
Sure.
Okay? But when he starts saying, "You're old,"
right?
Damn, you're gone.
I love it.
No, and I understand that, and but you understand where you make a statement, which I agree with. I think they've gone too far with. Okay, we have to put this, and this all in one commercial. Blend this family, make everybody feel represented. Blah blah blah, and you kind of lose focus on the commercial. It's a point you made. There's nothing wrong with what you said in my mind. Then someone else is going to look at that and say, "Well, Neil Bortz is just a racist," the same way they do to Donald Trump.
We've had two calls already. Talking about how Neil hates Trump.
I won't block somebody for saying that.
Yeah.
But if they started this old white man crap, they're gone. And that's what Mike Rose did.
Yeah.
Since you brought him up.
Well, that's fine. Mike Rose is a fellow Jew, and he doesn't support the right team either. So, I'm not.
I do look forward to it, Neil. I think if you're doing this job the right way, and I talked about this yesterday, whenever I go do the sports end of the building, I will always have the same person send the email to station management saying, "I can't believe you're having that bigot on." Like, thank you. Because as long as they're calling you names.
Prejudice, fine. Bigot, fine. Racist, number one, you don't know what the hell the word means.
Nope.
Very few people do. But, that's fine. But, look, getting to my age with my health and all that, that's an accomplishment. And if some preface, and by the way, if he's a Hebrew, he should know what a preface is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that Neil Bortz is not a Luddite.
That's
That's
right.
true. That
He
is
is
true.
not
He's
fearful
not
of
allowed.
technology.
Today's sports day.
I'm
word
scared
the
of
day.
all the technology that's in this bus, most of which I still don't know how to use.
Well, touch the eject button.
No.
Bye, Neil.
Take it all back.
Oh, you're kicking me out already, huh?
You've got to go.
You're the one who hit the eject button.
Oh, we kid. We love having you.
Love you, Neil.
If the little dork apologizes, I'll unblock you.
Rhino's going to broker the deal. It'll be great.
Okay.
Neil Moore, Stockmaster. Only on Extra 106.3. It's so funny when Neil's
Spit it out.
Well, it's just we had a couple calls. They're like mad at you because you said something about Donald Trump. I didn't even hear you say anything bad about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I don't
No, I
worship
said
at the
he was a
altar of
jerk.
Well, right, you didn't call him a jerk. That was last week. Anyway, Neil, we love you, man. Thank you.
Neil. Okay, guys, be good.
Lord. It's unreal. Like, I just don't understand. Like, you can't say anything. You can't criticize Donald Trump for anything. And people will call in and say, we're not listening anymore. What? Like, you're telling me the man is infallible. That's what you're telling me. That's what you're trying to do.
voting for the man because he's fallible.
That's exactly right. But, like, I have no issue with him being fallible. I think it's great that he's fallible.
Me too.
Yet I don't pretend that he's perfect, and I'm not going to pretend that everything he does is perfect. I think that's silly.
We're all sinners. We're all fallible. None of us are perfect.
Anyway, all right, when we come back.
Tug doesn't make mistakes.
Well,
that's it.
Boy, that is incorrect. Good. That's untrue right there. Even CNBC is getting tired of Kamala's BS. It's pretty satisfying, to be honest.
Did you know you were stereo Tug to start the show yesterday?
I did not know that.
Go back and listen to it.
I don't even know what that means, stereo tug.
Stereo Tug.
Okay. Well, I got to figure that out next on Extra 106.3.
The left-wing media is pushing counterfeit polls and bogus headlines, all while ignoring the stories that matter most. Trust the conservative voice of Atlanta for the real truth without the media spin. The Morning Extra, Glenn Beck, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton, The Kimmer Show, Jesse Kelly, and the voices you need most are all on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months right here on Extra 106.3.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
You have enough to deal with after an accident. You don't want to spend a lot of that time messing around with insurance companies. Besides, what are you going to say to them? You really know the ins and outs? David Van Sant at Van Sant Law does. He used to work for the insurance companies. Their worst nightmare. He knows who to call, what to say, how to listen to them, and he has your best interest at heart. Van Sant Law, 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com, 855-GA-INJURY.
Are you the type of consumer that likes to do your research before you choose a company? Well, then you need to join Dan Watkins, Chris Lolamy, and myself, Jim Niarchos, every Saturday morning at 9 for the All Four Seasons Home Show. We only vet local businesses with a proven history of integrity, competence, and solid customer service. The All Four Seasons Home Show helps you make a good consumer decision, save money, and not get ripped off. You can also follow our podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The All Four Seasons Home Show, Saturday mornings at 9, right here on Extra 106.3.
One of the hardest things to do is to walk away from a paycheck. As retirement planners, Masterplan knows how hard it can be to pull the trigger on your own retirement. Don't go it alone. Masterplan is a holistic retirement planning firm that works with you to create a retirement plan to help maximize your golden years. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life. Enter retirement with confidence. Contact Masterplan to analyze your retirement outlook and create a plan that's right for you. All initial consultations are complimentary, so contact us today and begin your pursuit towards peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consulting. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
The Morning Extra, Neil Bortz, and The Kimmer Show are all online for you anytime at thepodcastpark.com. Plus all of Extra's exclusive podcasts like Ben Burnett, Janelle King, and so much more. All at thepodcastpark.com. Presented by Associated Credit Union.
It's oddly satisfying when you hear mainstream media say the things that you've been saying forever and ever and ever. CNBC, the folks there, at least a few of them, are tired of the BS that the Kamala campaign is pushing. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. Am I saying her name? Raimondo? Is it Raimondo or Raimondo? Anyway, tired of the crap that she's selling. And like I said, I don't know why it's satisfying to hear them agree with the things that we've been saying forever, but it is.
By the way, he was president. We know what that resulted in.
Seems like you kind of forgot that earlier. Yeah, and the tariffs that he did put on were continued by the Biden administration. There was no recession. Real wages were actually up. Stock market did well. A lot of very positive things happened. Record low unemployment until the pandemic. So it's just weird to act like it's a complete wild card what kind of president he would be when you've got a blueprint right there of what kind of president he would be. And Kamala Harris has been vice president for 4 years, and we've seen exactly what kind of vice president she would be.
Right. What have you seen? You've seen more manufacturing in this country since any time since World War II.
I've seen real wages go down. I've seen crime.
That's not true.
What's not true?
I just don't agree with that.
Real weekly wages have gone down. Average weekly wages are still down from when Biden came into office.
When Biden came into office, we saw sky-high unemployment,
Pandemic.
Yeah, because of a pandemic.
Because of a pandemic.
But I don't know why.
Your governors wouldn't let you go back to your jobs.
Including her being the former governor of Rhode Island. But that's the thing. Like, I don't know why it's satisfying to me to hear mainstream outlets, because I typically don't give a crap what they think or what they say. But when you finally hear them tell the truth, there's something gratifying about it.
2020 worked for the Democrats in part because they pushed this return to normalcy. Because let's face it, you go through everything from about February of 2020 through the entirety of the summer into the fall, and it was madness. It was pure madness. It was one thing after another, and I think to a certain extent people got beaten down and thought to themselves Joe Biden might be a return to the normalcy of what they had the previous 3 years. Now that they've lived it, now it's a return to, yeah, his economy and his country was a lot better off for me, my family, my work. And so I think that's when you hear somebody from CNBC and what he's basically pointing out is things were good under this dude. You're the wild card in this entire equation.
It really is. And I think a lot of people, and that's where the middle is going to make up the difference. That's where a lot of those voters that they thought they had in the black vote and the Hispanic vote started moving. And again, we talked about the Hispanic vote. When they're trying to take care of their family, when they're trying to make sure that they can have ends meet, it's not there. The economy is not there, but it was 4 years ago. So no matter what they say about, oh, look at a record job loss. We shut the entire country down because of policies throughout each state. We allowed each state to make their own decision. And the reason that happened were Democrat states were the first ones to shut down and stay shut down. Donald Trump was trying to get people to get back in. I know that he didn't handle it exactly the way all of us wanted to. But when you go before that, you realize how the economy was humming along.
And we'll do that again if given the opportunity. We can get this under control. We can turn this aircraft carrier around. It's going to take a little while, but it can be done. But you got to make the right choice. If you put someone in that is already in office now, in the vice president, and you know that the policies will not change whatsoever, what exactly do you expect to change? So when Donald Trump is put into office, and we're hoping that he is, there actually will be change. Kamala's going to do the exact same thing Biden did. No questions asked. I mean, there's nothing to discuss there. We know that's the case.
I wish that CNBC discussion had gone on a little bit longer, because I would have loved to have the discussion of, we're not going back to non-entanglements in foreign affairs and not being really involved in crazy forever wars as we're getting people out of these places. And at the same time, also enjoying economic prosperity to the point where people could actually vacation and save money. Like, what exactly is going
We're not
back
going
to,
back to, yeah.
What was a bad idea about this? Oh, by the way, For a country that brings in about $5.5 trillion every single year, and we were spending about $5.6 trillion. When we got it to $7 trillion, we need to go back.
That's right. We need to go back to Donald Trump. We need to go back to common sense. We need to go back to being Americans. And Kamala Harris does not like that idea. Joe Biden does not like that idea. The Democrat Party does not like that idea. So when they say we're not going back, remember, it's the good things that you enjoyed that they don't want to go back to and will continue to fight against, which is unbelievable. It's hard to imagine that people, like, I was trying to explain it to my mama yesterday. She was like, why do they, yeah, I'm not kidding. She was like, why does anybody want to tear America down? I was like, because they hate it. They despise it. And she can't comprehend that is a reality.
If you can get Mama to ever be able to think to herself that the destruction of the American dream, the American way, in the interest of replacing it with global communism,
that's right.
If you can wrap your head around that there are people that are in charge that do not love this country, it starts to make a lot more sense to you.
She can't imagine that anybody wouldn't love the country, and that's where she's a Trump voter.
Oh no!
But that's the thing; she can't fathom that there's people that don't love this country.
If I was you, I would say, "Mama," and then she'll look at you and just say, "There are some people that found themselves in power that only look to serve themselves."
That's exactly right, man. And she knows that, but she can't comprehend it. Because I've talked to her about it so many times, but she still has a hard time thinking that anybody would not love America.
She should have a couple bourbons with me, and we'll figure this stuff out.
That's right. Morning Xtra and Xtra 106.3. Neil Boortz report and a Fox News update coming up. And the things you never hear a Democrat press conference, or you never hear at a Democrat press conference or rally. You always hear at a Trump gathering next on Xtra 106.3.
It's time for the Boortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Do you want more evidence that pretty much everything you get from the mainstream media is biased toward the left, toward the Democrat Party? No surprise. Well over 90% of the writers, producers, news readers, anchors, all of them vote Democrat, which brings us to fact-checking. How many times in the last, couple of months, 6 months, have you heard them use the phrase baseless or without evidence? Donald Trump made the baseless claim that blah, blah, blah. With no evidence, Donald Trump made the baseless claim that blah, blah, blah. Yep, they're going to tell you what Donald Trump said or what some other conservative said, but they're going to use the word baseless or without evidence to signal to you that you should pay no attention whatsoever. But have you ever heard the baseless claim or without evidence phrase used to apply to the favorite left-wing propaganda statement that the rich don't pay their fair share of taxes? Answer, never. You want some updates? Here they are. The latest figures from the Tax Foundation. In 2021, the bottom one half of taxpayers earned 10.4% of all income. They paid 2.3% of all federal income taxes. The evil top 1% earned 26.3% of total adjusted gross income and paid 45.8% of all income taxes. Yet nobody says that the idea that the rich don't pay their fair share is a baseless claim. Baseless? The top 1% of taxpayers accounted for more income taxes paid than the bottom 90% combined. You can fact check this yourself. Just go online and Google who pays what taxes and have fun. Neil Boortz, Xtra 106.3.
Oh man, look at my backyard. Looks like a tornado met a hurricane in a desert. I'm going to tell her to turf off. Or maybe you'd rather turf on with ATL Turf Co., the Southeast's leading turf installer. Whether you'd like a new football field, putting green, or have us create the perfect maintenance-free backyard of your dreams, find ATLTurfCo.com. Make your yard great again. Visit ATLTurfCo.com and see what we've created for customers like you in the Southeast. ATLTurfCo.com. And no more yard cackling.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
They're looking for more victims after the sunrise. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Our little town here has just been absolutely decimated.
He's in Sewananoa, outside Nashville, North Carolina, one of many communities devastated by flooding.
Not only are the buildings gone on one side of the road, the ground that the building sat on is no longer there.
Hurricane Helene's damage is widespread from Florida to Tennessee. The storm blamed for at least 128 deaths. Hundreds more people remain unaccounted for. Some cut off with roads washed out and cell service out.
We will continue to do everything we can to help you recover and to help you rebuild, no matter how long it takes.
Vice President Harris at a FEMA disaster meeting in Washington. President Biden will go to North Carolina to survey damage tomorrow. Former President Trump posted on Truth Social it's been a really bad hurricane response after saying while meeting victims and touring damage in Valdosta, Georgia.
We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here.
Israel's turned up the heat on Hezbollah, sending troops into Lebanon today, days after an airstrike killed militant group's leader.
Israel is complementing its limited ground offensive with additional airstrikes across Lebanon, while Hezbollah is responding with a constant wave of rockets into northern and central Israel.
Fox's Nate Foy in Tel Aviv. There's a big strike that could affect the economy. About 50,000 dock workers walked off their jobs after midnight at ports from Maine to Texas.
We are fighting for our families, and we are fighting for the rights so that we have a right to get a piece of that money that they got so much of.
International Longshoremen's Union President Harold Daggett, a baseball legend who went from famous to infamous, has died. Pete Rose. He's the all-time Major League hits leader. But Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because his career ended in shame. Banned from baseball in 1989 for betting on games while he was a Reds player and manager, Pete Rose was 83. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Some of the stories today, the dock workers strike, you heard about that and how crazy that's going to be. We discussed that in the 7 o'clock hour. If you missed any of it, you can go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app. Because you can listen to anything there. You can listen to everything live and on demand. It is available at your convenience. Another big story today, and though I do not agree with his politics, but I do think he was a good man, or is a good man, is the 100th birthday of Jimmy Carter.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. He is the first president to ever live to 100.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable. I think he has a wonderful heart. I think he's a genuinely good man. I think his politics were as backwards as you can possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, obviously, in that situation, and he's known for that reason. But yes, this is a man who has done so much with Habitat for Humanity and making sure that they had and again, this is a charitable event. It wasn't taken from the government. It wasn't taken from anywhere else. They, went out and they built homes, and they found people like Warwick Dunn, who, former Falcon, was very involved in that as well and leveraged what he could do. I mean, Jimmy Carter was a great man for the state of Georgia. Worked really hard for the people and cares a lot. And same thing with Rosalind, his wife. They worked really hard to take care of people, and it's very admirable.
Yeah, you can be a poor to bad to awful president.
The worst up until now.
Yet to be a good person that inspires others. Like, as you mentioned, when it came to work done, Habitat for Humanity gave him the idea for Home for the Holidays, which was really looking at people that had grown up in a similar situation as he did. If you don't know the story, his mother was a police officer in Louisiana. She was shot and killed in the line of duty. And so he was always looking for single mothers that were trying to raise their family and do it the right way. And so a guy like, and again, it's been a little different how his life went, but like quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, he grew up in one of those homes for the holidays. So it's like you didn't know that Jimmy Carter, and that's just one instance, affected people with his good vibes around the world for the rest of his life.
Yeah, Warwick Dunn was one of those too who grew up in one of those homes, and then all of a sudden said, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to be able to give that same opportunity to other people, and Jimmy Carter is that. You have the opposite too. There are other people who are great presidents who some people like Neil Bortz think are jerks, but they happen to be really good presidents.
Really good presidents.
Yeah, it happens both ways.
But that's the thing that I always question about Neil, because he gets upset about Trump calling people names or making snide comments about them. And I always ask the same question, and no one's ever really given me an answer. Why is he the only one held to that standard? Like, he's called Nazi and Hitler, like the worst names you could possibly be called. And yet, no one really calls anybody on that. No one says, hey, maybe you shouldn't call him Hitler. Maybe you shouldn't call him a dictator. Maybe you shouldn't call him Nazi. I don't know.
Maybe that'll lead to people to do stupid things. Who knows? You never know. Yeah, I know.
Which is correct. Yes, of course. But why is it that it's only him that's held to the standard of you shouldn't call names? Why? Well, no one can answer it.
Because again, that's the idea of communism, is to blame somebody else for what you're doing. It's the funny part about, Aunt Peg and Uncle Chip and all those others out there, that they don't like Donald Trump because of what he said. They don't like that he ran his mouth or called names. And the first thing they do when you put up anything, it could just be like, I like Trump's policy on this. They come in and go, yeah, Orange Man, you're a dope. You're a clown. You're an idiot. I can't believe you extremist, racist, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't like him because he called names, and here you come in doing that. It's the same thing over and over again.
Never makes
and the
sense.
Media covers for both.
It never makes sense.
Nope.
Board Op Goey Virgin River has said he's addressed those in his Neil Bortz reports. I'll have to go back and listen to him on the Extra 106.3 apps, because I have not heard that, me personally, not heard that myself. So I look forward to getting the answer, because I've yet to hear it up until this point. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. When people show up at Democrat events, you never hear calls of patriotism. You never hear chants of USA, USA, USA. That happened in Valdosta, Georgia yesterday with Donald Trump, because that's what Donald Trump engages with. He believes in America. He loves the country. Is he flawless? Is he infallible? No, he is not flawless. He is not infallible. But does he love the country? I do believe the answer is yes. You never see that at a Democrat rally. And somebody's going to call here in a little bit and be like, well, that's what they did at the DNC this year. I can hear it now.
It was so weirdly forced.
It was so staged and fake. It was unbelievable. They knew that they were losing with people that genuinely love this country, and they said, let's stage this. Let's make this happen. Let's AstroTurf this.
I didn't believe it at the time. This was like 04, 05, leading into the when you started looking into what was going on leading into the Barack Obama administration, where when you would see at their DNCs or any of their events, a lack of American flags. Now, it seems like a little thing, right? But they looked at it as... But in the
grand scheme, it really does show you what they are and what they believe.
It was more of, we're looking to change this thing because we don't like how this country was founded. And that was very prevalent through the run of the Barack Obama administration. If we just want to bring up what it looked like in Philadelphia when Joe Biden gave you that speech in front of that menacing... I don't recall an American flag there. What I remember is two Marines in the background just letting you know, if you step out of line, we're going to put you back in.
Ominous red lighting.
Yeah, the red lighting with the dark black background, because there was obviously an evening press conference or evening State of the Union address. Yeah, it was very ominous, very communist-like, very almost scary. It kind of scared me. It reminded me of, I don't remember if you remember the Apple commercial from the 80s. It was like one of the first Macintosh or Apple commercials where all the people were just kind of walking in line and and it was very dark and black and white. That's what that entire Philadelphia, State of the Union reminded me of.
Look at that. You've got the American flag draped on each side by Marines and just red lighting. Like ominous red lighting.
So weird.
But yeah, I've always thought that when it comes to any chance of USA or anything, it feels so forced.
It never shows up, and if it does, it is forced, just like it was at the DNC this year. Go back and look at the other DNCs. Not there.
How many times have we seen like Chuck Schumer try to lead like people into clapping, and then they have to go back and go, that was an applause line, or Nancy Pelosi, or anything.
It comes up,
They fake what they say. They look to say things just, I wrote this for an applause line. That's what they're looking for. Attention, applause, all of that. They're not actually looking to say, hey, here's the policy. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we can help you. It's, hey, guys, you were supposed to applause that.
The four of us here on this show all genuinely love America. And I'm sure you do too, listening right now. 404-741-1230 is the number, at Extra 1063 across the social media platforms. In my immediate view, here at Dickey Broadcasting on Extra 1063, I see 4 American flags, and I'm in a small studio. I see the one on the wall. I see the one behind me. I see the one right there at the front door, and I see the one right here on the microphone.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's 4.
I got 6,
in
but
my
I got a
immediate
different view.
Yeah, your view's a little different than mine. I have 4. In my immediate view, Rhino's got 6. That tells you the way we feel about America. Mm-hmm. We have it on display. We wear it on our sleeve. We wear it on our shoulder. The Democrats don't, because they don't love America. They want to take America. As I was trying to explain, and Los and I were talking about helping Mama understand that people do not love this country. The Democrat Party does not love this country. They see it as evil. They see it as racist and stolen and all these other crazy, crazy ideas.
Well, they look at the founding of this country as being something that's putrid, that should be rejected, and that we need to start anew. The problem is that you also have Republicans in the Uniparty that completely go along with this in the interest of power. Yep. It's actually a rarity when it comes to finding large amounts of politicians on a federal level who actually love this country.
Yeah. I was going the same way with Carlos, because I remember, in our house that Republicans, establishment, of course, and Democrats were the ones that were waving Ukrainian flags in the middle of our Congress. There's only one side that burns flags, by the way, and there's one side that protects flags.
That's
and
right.
I know that as well.
100% correct there. No doubt about it. It's unbelievable, man.
I just think that there's so many people that they're self-serving in their own interests. Like, we do have Chamber of Commerce Republicans, of course, that want all of the illegal immigration because they recognize it drives down wages and they make more money. And that's a real thing that goes on. I love this country as long as it's making me money. On the other side, you then have this portion of communists that say, I don't love this country, but I want power so I can remake it as I see fit. And these two groups, this is how they uniparty together. And they spend all the time making you hate the other one, while they're the ones that are ruining everything.
In the back doors, in the back offices, working together on everything.
And meanwhile, the people that are our patriots get turned into these villainous devils where, I can't believe Marjorie Taylor Greene would ever say that.
Yeah.
Like, they become because they don't play the game.
Or
with
the
these
Morning
people.
Extra would ever say that.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's the same thing. And, before the crazy liberals go out, well, burning a flag is right, and you're all
Of course it is.
I'm all for it. You could burn it. It still lets me know what you
tells
feel
me where you
or
stand.
tells me where you stand. I'm not against any kind of free speech. You can say whatever you want. You could call me every bad Jewish name in the book. I give you that right. Go ahead. Doesn't make it right. It will also help me form an opinion about how you feel or who you are.
My wife talked me out of it, but I really wanted to do this.
Transition?
Well, that was a possibility, too.
Oh.
That was second place.
Okay.
Man, you nailed it on second place.
So
but no, first place was when we had, and we were at a swim meet. I'll never forget this because there was this weird vibe that came over the entire place. This was when the ruling came down from New York of the 34 counts against Donald Trump. And everyone's kind of looking at their phones, and you recognize, I'm not in the country I thought I was.
Yeah.
Like, we've all talked about that, but it kind of, and I thought about going home and taking my American flag and hanging it upside down.
Yeah.
And I had some friends of mine who did that and sent me their pictures, and I thought about doing the exact same thing. That is another form of free speech, that we are under an emergency. Like, this is a problem that we're having.
Which is an actual way of saying, hey, we're in an emergency, flying the flag upside down.
Now, while one side may say, I don't agree with the founding of this country, I think that we're the bad guys, which I've agreed with a lot of times, and they burn the flag, I'm doing the same thing by saying I'm going to hang the flag upside down. You may look at these as, well, I would never burn one or I would never do this.
Sure.
I look at this as the same form of free speech.
It is the same form of free speech, just different messaging.
Yes.
For you, when you hang a flag upside down, you say,
Something
I
wrong with my
remember this
country.
country, there's something wrong. We need
Distress
to, we
or
need to do something.
extreme emergency. That's
Yes.
what that means. It's an actual thing. It's nothing to do with disrespecting the flag.
We were looking to imprison a former president. Like, that's an emergency.
Exactly. And what you're saying is we need to get to the foundation and figure out why this is going the wrong way and fix it. Get back to the Constitution. Get back to what was founded here in this country. The other side is, I don't like this country. I want to burn it down. That's the vision you get when someone burns your flag rather than hanging it upside down.
It's great to see Donald Trump when he shows up in Valdosta, Georgia, and does more than the federal government does almost immediately. You had Joe Biden say, we've done all we can. We don't really have any money. We're out. That's all we have. Sorry. I know we sent $8 billion rather to Ukraine last Friday, but for the American people, we just don't really have anything. So to see a private citizen who wants to be president again work with Elon Musk to give people the ability just to connect with their friends and family to say, I'm alive, is amazing. Listen to Donald Trump.
Spoke to Elon. I'm getting him. We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever. And Elon will always come through. We know that. And so we're working on that, getting them hooked up. They asked me whether or not that would be possible. We're going to try and get the Starlink in there as soon as possible because they have no communication. And throughout the region, our hearts are with you, and we are going to be with you as long as you need it. It's called an hour of need. You're in our prayers, and we pray to God, and throughout the long weeks that lay ahead, you're going to have a lot of work, but the end result is it's going to be good. We just wish so many people weren't so badly hurt, and in many cases, sadly, no longer with us.
It's unbelievable.
Presidential.
It's very presidential, and the fact that the federal government, the person that is the president, Joe Biden, has done nothing. Kamala Harris has faked and staged a picture, but that's the extent of the work she's done. Thankfully, private industry is coming through to save the day because government will fail you every time, as it always does.
And let's remember, okay, the two people who are in charge of this country, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden, should have been involved in this starting on Thursday, maybe even Wednesday. Even before that, getting ready for what could happen, going through every scenario, because, you can sit here and play games. We didn't know where it was going. The National Weather Center put projected paths. There were 4 to 5 different projected paths that this could possibly go, and 3 of them intersect at one point. So you knew about where it was going to go. You knew what states were going to need help, and you weren't there. The only time you were there was when you got feedback after and then go, yeah, well, after campaigning, Vice President Kamala Harris will be returning to the White House on Sunday, and she'll be talking to people then. Should have been done on Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday, Thursday, Friday as well.
I want you to think about how important private industry is versus what the federal government ends up offering you. Let's say you're in a situation where a storm goes through where mama lives, all right? Now, typically you're not allowed to get in there. And mama's, let's say, for instance, there's no cell service and she does not have an available vehicle. Because sometimes the salt water does that. Sometimes you have some of the issues that goes on. There's no way to check with that person. There's just nothing.
Zero. Yeah.
And so, like, when we had a similar situation happen in Florida, Sprint came in within the first couple of days and set up a mobile cell center. Just set it up on a tower, and suddenly people could text one another and get a couple phone calls that say, hey, I'm okay, I just want to let you know I'm alive. But imagine that misery of 48, 72 hours you don't know. So when you see something as little as Starlink, if you see them, you're like, what's the big deal with Donald Trump? Understand that little bit of contact goes such a long way for people.
Yeah, because you have to remember that, and I've seen them because, I have a lot of friends that live kind of close to that area or in that area, people that I know. And on Facebook, I see it. Hey, has anybody heard from my son? Has anybody heard from my daughter, my husband, my wife? Nobody can because there is no self-service. There's no outside contact. And people are getting worried and scared. It would be nice to just be able to pick up the phone and go, oh, good. I got Starlink now. Elon Musk, thank you. Donald Trump, thank you. We've got this going. I'm able to reach out and let everybody know I'm okay. We do need some help. Stay. We're okay. Stay.
You'll never convince me it's not because it's a bunch of white people that will vote for Donald Trump and they consider redneck hillbillies. You'll never convince me that's not the reason that things are happening the way that they're happening. And as a matter of fact, there's a post from a friend of mine from high school that is just asking for that same ability to be able to locate their family. Mm-hmm. And it is a young son and daughter that were up in Western North Carolina, and they're just begging, can somebody please
just check on them?
Just check on. Let me know they're okay. They were caught. They were caught. The last we heard, they were caught in the water. We don't know if they're okay. We don't know if they're able to make it to higher ground. They don't have service. The last time we talked with Leah, they were both terrified. Please pray for their safety, and they posted a picture. And this is a friend, obviously a friend of a friend that I went to high school with, that is describing exactly what you're talking about. Just that basic need of communication to say we're okay.
It would be nice. And, I like what you brought up yesterday. And at first I was thinking, people don't know what Asheville is. They don't know who runs Asheville or who lives in Asheville. And apparently not, because, what you said, and one of the worst things that could happen was confirmed yesterday when I saw Democrats, not Republicans, saying, you know what? I mean, I'm not all for a storm, but I'm glad it went through these southern areas with a bunch of redneck MAGA extremists, and taking them out is just fine with me. It didn't come from the right. We don't see that kind of hate from the right. We see that from the left, the same way we saw, I wish they would have gotten the job done during an assassination attempt.
It's unbelievable.
This is an evil, evil left that we're dealing with now. Not all of them, not all Democrats.
Yeah, sure.
But boy, do they have a large 33% of them.
The biggest portion, at least in politics, the biggest portion of them definitely feel that way and definitely talk that way. A little later in the show, we'll introduce you to Betsy Packard, poet and writer, that felt that exact same way. It will make you sick to your stomach when you hear it. When we come back on Extra 106.3, pressure is mounting due to the failures of the Biden and Harris administration in the wake of Helene. Next on the Morning Extra, we'll also hit headlines. This is Extra 106.3.
Remember that. It was Democrats who were the slave owners. It was the Democrats that voted against the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act. But everybody seems to forget that.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
These days, anytime you can save money, you better do it. Especially knowing that prices are about to go up again because of this huge dock worker strike that's going from Boston all the way down to Texas. Goodness gracious, things are about to get even more expensive. So if you're in the market for HVAC, let me tell you, get yourself a deal from Central Heating and Air Conditioning and Carrier. Right now, you can save up to $2,000 on Carrier systems. $2,000 off. Make sure you're comfortable all year long. Carrier systems come with excellent warranties. For added peace of mind, you can get yourself a new system if you need it. But here's the deal if you don't. Look, maybe you just need the maintenance agreement. to make sure that your system, whatever brand that is, Carrier or otherwise, Central Heating and Air Conditioning can work on any brand. So you can get the repairs, you can get the maintenance agreement to help it last, or if you're to that point where you need a new system, save $2,000. At Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they pride themselves on better service through knowledge. Turn to your Atlanta Carrier expert, Central Heating and Air Conditioning. Chuck and his team have been serving Atlanta since 1947. They are really a local company, unlike many others who claim to be. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to the Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Xtra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
Hi, this is Ben. And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. About 15 years ago, I was running a private investigations company, and my partner Ben here was running a background screening company and saw the need to put the two together. The background screening helps employers, churches, volunteer organizations, and those sorts of things to help find the right people, get those right people in place, and screen out people that would be a hindrance to their company. On the other end, the investigative work, we can help companies, individuals, insurance companies, law firms gather information, a lot of times around lawsuits and other legal work like that, but also helping people when they're going through a divorce or going through other hard things in life. 25 plus years, we've just been blessed with growth and have basically become a nationwide provider of both pre-employment background checks and private investigative services. The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
There has been a heavy media focus on Pennsylvania, and for good reason. If Kamala Harris loses that state, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Now, in my view, she should have picked the popular governor, Josh Shapiro. Nothing against Tim Walz, but Shapiro would have brought in, as the home state guy, enough votes perhaps to tip the election in her favor. Look at these numbers. Real Clear Politics average. Trump leading Harris by 48.1% to 47.9%. A statistical tie. You look at Pennsylvania at 538. Harris averaging 47.9% to Trump's 47.1%. Another tie. This is why the state is so important, and she let the anti-Israel types really dictate her choice. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Tuesday, October 1st. Rockdale County has rescinded its shelter-in-place and evacuation orders, allowing residents to return home. Firefighters have transitioned from extinguishing the biolab blaze to removing remaining chemicals that could pose a threat in reignition and further deterioration of air quality. The fire initially started around 5 a.m. on Sunday when a sprinkler malfunctioned, causing water to come into contact with a water-reactive chemical, according to authorities. Fulton Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney issued an order overturning the state of Georgia's 6-week heartbeat bill. According to the judge, abortions must be regulated as they were before the law took effect, which means they will be allowed until 22 weeks. Governor Brian Kemp responded, saying once again the will of Georgians and their representatives has been overruled by the personal beliefs of one judge. The Attorney General's office is expected to appeal the decision. And the final day of baseball season might have been one of the most memorable endings in MLB history. The Braves and Mets played 2 makeup games to decide who would be heading to the playoffs. The Braves blew an early 3-0 lead to lose Game 1, 8-7 in the final game of the season. Grant Holmes took the mound and secured the win as the Braves beat the Mets 3-0, capturing the final wildcard spot. The journey to the World Series begins today for the Braves, who head to San Diego to take on the Padres tonight at 8:30. You can catch all the Braves postseason action beginning tonight on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
October 25th, that is when the World Series is set to begin. How do y'all feel about this series? Because I I want to believe. I like
what I saw out of Grant Holmes.
Yeah,
I
me
really
too.
liked what I saw out of Spencer Schwellenbach yesterday. I mean, that was pressure, and he did a great job bringing that game to 3-0 throughout. I think our bats are there. They just need to. Ozzie looked amazing yesterday. Glad to have him back. I'd like to see some people get back. But then during the break in between the two, when Alex Anthopoulos comes out, and I watched the press conference, and he talks about back spasms and Chris Sale, well, that's got to be a real scary thing going into a playoff.
Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Oh, see, here comes the smart one.
I want the bad news first. That way I can end on something positive.
All right. If you want to talk about the bad news, the Padres are the best team in baseball since the All-Star break at 43-20. They're 19-8 at Petco Park, and when you strip away any of the analytical information for like where they play versus other parks, they have the best starting rotation and the best bullpen in baseball right now.
Sounds like an upset to me.
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Here it goes.
That's the good news.
Is that the good news? What is the good news?
You haven't lost him in the playoffs since 1998.
Okay.
Which is the last time you played him.
But yes, yeah. 1998. Oh, there's a Morgan Wallen song about that, I recall, called 98 Braves.
See, there was the good news.
No, that's really not good news.
See it all led around to that?
Yes, it's terrible news. All the news is bad news.
If it all comes back to Morgan Wallen, Tug ends with a smile.
I know, yes, sir.
And I think Rhino's analysis is great.
Yeah.
Sounds like an upset. No, they've been a short list. The Mets and Padres have been the two best teams in the National League since the All-Star break, and so you had to take care of your business yesterday, which is no small thing.
You competed with the Mets.
And then you beat the Mets.
Yeah.
You finished ahead of the Mets.
Yeah.
So now you gotta do it again with the Padres.
Oh, Lord. All right.
It's playoff baseball, man. Anything can happen in this stuff.
There is some intense pressure on the Biden-Harris administration to pick up the pace on this whole Helene disasters, and we're going to talk to Jim in Holly Springs. Jim, before we get to what you want to discuss when it comes to Helene, how are you feeling about the Braves?
Braves, I really honestly don't care. I don't follow sports that much, so I'm just not much of a fan.
I probably should have asked that question earlier before we got you on the phone. I'll know next time. Jim, no worries, though. But when it comes to the pressure of cleaning up and helping the people in Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, some parts of South Carolina, some parts of Georgia, and even some in Florida, you got a pretty good idea, I believe, about how you could really benefit the folks that are in those areas suffering.
Yeah, well, the longshoremen, since they're now all on the strike and there's thousands and thousands of them not working today, maybe we could convince them to head to those devastated areas and help start cleaning up. I mean, our life's about to get a lot tougher if they don't settle that strike with supplies. Might as well put your time to good use.
That might be a good idea, Jim. Thank you so much for the call at 404-741-1230. But he's not wrong. If you want to, because right now I don't think there's anybody, or not anybody, there are very few people going, yeah, man, I'm sure in support of this strike that's going to make the American economy worse and going to be stressful even more for the American people. I don't know that many people are in support of that. If you're looking for some sort of olive branch, Jim might be onto something.
Yeah. Jim, I'm not going to knock your idea. I will just tell you this. We are downplaying how dangerous it is out there. Mm-hmm. And so when you have the people you want in there, like when the Cajun Navy rolls in, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
When you have Samaritan's Purse come in, they know what they're doing. When you have the electrical workers come in, they know what they're doing. We're going to have people that are going to be dying there. They're just going to be looking to like cut trees down to like clear pathways. I mean, it's incredibly dangerous. So as much as I'm like, yeah, they're not doing anything, you don't want anybody out there that doesn't know what they're doing.
No, and that's, there are so many people with big hearts that want to drive to Asheville, want to drive to parts of Carolina.
Donate water.
Yeah.
Donate fuel. Get it to the people that know what they're doing.
Yep.
I know you want to help. Get it to people that know what they're doing.
I've dealt with a lot of people from Samaritan's Purse.
Samaritan's Purse.
God, I have a hard time with that one. And one thing I know is that they've gone through the training. They know how to get things to where they need to be. They have the trucks, they have every access and all the tools they need, and they know how to deal with these kind of situations. Allow them to do it. Donate, like Carlos said. That's the best way to handle, because you don't need to be in those areas. We don't need to have people who just want to help, because they do tend to get in the way. Unlike a vice president and president who would not get in the way, by the way.
Yeah. But they're not going to show up to get in the way.
They're able to summon the people that do know what they're doing. It's just there's always so much red tape. When you hear about just the idea of setting up a mobile command center, or even, for instance, their version of Starlink, how hard that is to get done in some of these areas. Whereas private industry or regular people can get that done so much easier who know what they're doing.
I tell you, there's when you talk about Samaritan's Purse, I trust them to the point that even more than I do the American Red Cross, because the American Red Cross, they do some things that always makes me go, wait, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Samaritan's Purse has never made me feel that way. So I'm with Rhino on this one. If you can help, that is a great organization to reach out to. And if you know others that you feel confident in, 404-741-1230. We'd love to hear from you about that.
Yeah, and this is just a reminder, and Gary Miller, a good listener of ours, was like, this is why we need places like True Prep, that you need places like Starlink. You need to have private industry that will have you prepared in case of an emergency. And I know True Prep's not going to go out there, but those are the kind of things that you should have stocked up, ready to go in case of an emergency like this. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, you don't realize how much you need it until it happens.
Yep.
That's why
as a guy that lived it,
when I walk around and I'm over at True Prep with Rhino, then I part of me looks at it like I'm a kid in a candy store. I was like, I could really use that. Or what if I really need this? It's not until you need that stuff that you recognize that prepping ain't for crazy people. It's just in case something weird happens.
And I think it's so important to realize that the people that own and run that place were Georgia Tech engineers.
Yeah.
This is not like...
Right. It's not like
a hillbilly like me.
Yeah.
Like a big dummy.
It's not like I decided to wear camo and, hey, y'all want to start a prepping store?
I think it'd be a good idea. I bet we'd make a bunch of money.
We'll get guns.
Yeah, and they have so many other businesses. This is just one of the portfolio that they have. So just know that you're working and dealing with such smart folks.
Yeah, and local.
On top of that. But there is pressure, Rhino, right now for the White House to actually do something and get off their freaking hands, because it appears, at least to me, a guy that's not very far from Western North Carolina and East Tennessee.
Yeah.
When I see them doing nothing, I feel like there is politics at play.
Yeah. Because, and in reality, this is politics, because you do need the federal government to step in and help out in certain situations. So there's always going to be politics when it revolves around this, not to mention locally. You're going to have a governor. You're going to have other people like the lieutenant governor who was down there, Mike Collins, who was down there in Valdosta as well. You're going to have to depend on it. But how you handle an emergency is going to affect, one way or another, good or bad, how your political campaign goes along, especially this close. Is this an October surprise? Not at all. But this is something that now you get to see who can lead. And so far, if you're looking, you see Donald Trump on the ground. Donald Trump talking about local businesses and talking about Elon Musk and what they're going to do to make sure that they can get this done, what they are delivering. That's the kind of leadership that could win you an election. On the other hand, if you don't show up, or if you come up with excuses, or you take photos and people see through your photos, that could be very damaging for you and show that you don't have the leadership to get this done. Donald Trump was on the ground. Donald Trump's been talking to people. Donald Trump has been asking what they need and been delivering. Biden made a phone call. Harris made a phone call, but only after they were forced to, because they didn't do it on Wednesday, Thursday when they knew the storm. They didn't talk about the past with the governors then. It wasn't until after they were caught on a beach or after they were caught campaigning that they showed up. And that can affect them when it comes to votes.
Governor Ron DeSantis says Florida, we got their parts handled, and the federal government needs to focus on saving lives in North Carolina.
What I would say is, Florida, we have it handled. We got approved for the individual citizens, things we've wanted. We have what we need. Now, obviously, there may be additional things that we'll ask for in the future. It depends on how things shake out. But I think most of the effort should be in Western North Carolina right now, because you still have active rescues that need to take place. I mean, just think about, it's almost like if this area were totally cut off and every road was destroyed, but you can still get places by boat. There, you can't do that. You're in. And I just think they should really, the federal government should focus on that. We're running rescue flights. We're happy to do it, but I know the federal government has more assets than the state of Florida has. So there should not be anybody left behind in those communities.
Without a doubt. And one state, one governor is doing more than the entire federal government. That tells you all you need to know about the Biden administration and what Kamala Harris will do when she is elected, if she's elected.
That is, again, very presidential, but also very governor-like. And he's saying, hey, we've got this handled at the state level. This is where you need federal input. Where's the federal input? What he's telling you is the truth of what needs to be done. There's still rescues going on. He is updating you the way he has for the state of Florida whenever they face one of these storms. Where is President Biden saying we still have to focus on this area first because we're still dealing with rescues? Florida and Governor Ron DeSantis have been doing a great job. Governor Brian Kemp has been doing a great job along with the power companies getting power restored to people who needed it. Brian Kemp is doing a good job. There are no rescues needed anymore. We've had unfortunate deaths. We need to focus on rebuilding. But right now we're going to focus all our... That's what you want to hear from President Biden. That's what you want to hear from Harris. But they are MIA. They're just saying, hey, we'll be there when we can. And you have somebody like Ron DeSantis who is pointing out for the rest of America what the president should be.
There is something to practice, and Ron DeSantis has practiced at this as a governor and as the executive who is running the operations. The amount of times that he went on TV in the state of Florida last week to tell people about what they're expecting, here are our resources, what you need to do, and he was very adamant. 48 hours out, you still have time to leave. 24 hours out, you still have time to leave, but we're getting closer. 12 hours out, he's like, you might want to lock it down at this point unless you have a way to get out. These are the sorts of pieces of information that you wonder when the power level rises, such as to vice president, where are you advising the country on how to remain calm and how to get through this?
Can you imagine how terrible the shape Florida would be in if they didn't have Ron DeSantis?
Oh.
If they didn't have a leader like that in Ron DeSantis?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Because then it would be additionally Florida in the same shape and needing all this help.
Are you saying Charlie Crist wouldn't have been able to handle this?
Something tells me that it wouldn't have been quite
all
as
caught
effective.
up and everything else. Yeah.
Something tells me that would be the case. But I'm just saying, if Florida didn't have DeSantis, they would be in bad shape. Thank God that they do.
This is the importance of Ron DeSantis has a record. Okay? This is experience. This is why you want someone. He is leading a state through a disaster. He has the record to do this. Kamala Harris doesn't have that record. So as she runs for this, you can't bring me what you did for California or how you got them through emergencies. You can't tell us how you got through a pandemic or what you needed to do. You can tell us what Joe Biden did. You can take credit for certain things, but you won't take credit for others. You don't have a record. Ron DeSantis does. Donald Trump has a record as well.
Still comes back to authenticity, and what the problem ends up being with this administration is that if you've already burned so many of your chips when it comes to you, I know you've been lying to me, you haven't been truthful with me. When we do end up in an emergency situation and you're trying to be honest, I'm sitting back and saying, that's inauthentic. I don't believe you.
Well, yeah, I think that's huge because, my first thought, and I'm glad you brought that up because it just kind of stirred. When I see Donald Trump on the floor, I think he said, how do I get there? What can I do? The other side said, oh my God, how's this going to affect me politically? I need to put out a picture. That's the way I view it.
I need to put out a picture.
But
just think about how, if there isn't something
self-serving
as so worthless as, remember when those girls were abducted in Africa and it was the hashtag bring back our girls?
Yeah.
I was like, the White House's response to a terrorist act of taking away young women was hashtags and pictures, not actual action.
Yeah.
404-741-1230 is the number. Going to go to Stephanie real quick. She's got a great organization that she wants to recommend to folks. Stephanie, what's up?
Hey, good morning. So UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, does not advertise, and all of their admin costs are paid for through apportionments at the church. So 100% of your donation goes to relief efforts. And they're usually first or second on the ground, and then they stay even after Samaritan's Purse and Red Cross and all the other organizations have left. They're wonderful. It's umcor.org, umcor.org. They're fantastic.
That's awesome,
That's
Stephanie.
another
Thank
one.
you so much.
You always want to check into where, like, the percentage of your dollars, that is a huge deal.
Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. Kamala's Tommy Callahan moment is terrific. Next on Extra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
For the most part, Metro Atlanta, has escaped the just ravaging of Hurricane Helene. I mean, there are areas in Atlanta that got, flooded, and there's all kinds of things that need to be repaired and fixed. Absolutely. But leaving behind the heavy rain and flooding, that's what we're dealing with. The storm damage across the South and across Atlanta. Southern Exterior is here to help with the recovery for emergency roof repairs to storm damage inspections. The team at Southern Exteriors is ready to restore your home with quality and precision you can rely on. I want to encourage you to reach out to these guys because they will do exactly what they tell you they'll do. They'll look you in the eye, shake your hand, and get the job done. They'll have a foreman on site at the job. So if you have any questions about anything that's happening, you can ask them, get them answered, and continue on making sure that your job is done up to your standard. Call them today, 877-9-SOUTHERN. 877-9-SOUTHERN for a free inspection of your roof and fast assistance as well. Do not wait. Their team is standing by right now. 877-9-SOUTHERN, 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co. The website is southernexteriors.co.
Hey Atlanta, it's Mark from the Safe House. You've heard me talk about fake safes, and while that's a really bad way to secure your valuables, you want to hear something that's even worse? Kamala Harris is president. Wow, let that sink in. That'll make you want to throw up. Well, there is good news. The Safe House has the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and some of the best pricing and rebates on safes this entire year. Secure your valuables in a quality safe from the Safe House. Drop by our showroom today or go to atlantasafehouse.com. That's atlantasafehouse.com.
Insurance companies know that you don't know a lot about the law, so maybe it would be better just to let your lawyer make the call to the insurance company when there's a problem. David Van Sant should be that lawyer. He used to work for the insurance company. He knows who to call, what to say, and he has your best interest at heart. Plus, if you don't get paid, either does he. Van Sant Law, 855 GA Injury or vansantlaw.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the Podcast Park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
Extra 106.3 is the only station in Atlanta to bring you the legend Neil Vortz, a live and local news talk show on your ride in, and the Kimmer Show every afternoon. Be here at 3 for the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
One of my favorite scenes in Tommy Boy is when he's speaking into the fan, Luke, I am your father. And David Spade walks in. So good. And
I've interrupted playtime.
So good. This movie is so incredible. It's one of those that doesn't matter when you see it, you're going to stop and watch it on television because you can repeat it word for word. Little did we know that Kamala Harris had her own Tommy Boy moment.
We had this conversation about movies that still stand up. And my 13-year-old daughter watched Tommy Boy maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago. She thought it was hilarious.
Did I hear a niner in there?
Did I hear? Were you calling from a walkie-talkie? So there's a moment in there, and I thought about it in terms of the picture we've been referencing of Kamala Harris on her plane, and she's got the earbuds in, and these are the ones that I wear. Okay, like I don't wear the cool AirPod ones.
So yours is
I've got the wired.
Yeah, I got one of those too,
and I plug it into my phone because I think I get a better sound out of that, and it just feels more comfortable to me. And so when I see that she's got wired headsets in, and they're going down to her lap, and the phone is right in front of her. Like, is there another phone? Because that means it's not plugged in.
What is that plugged in?
That only takes an extra second in order to make sure you get this picture right to show that you're so concerned. And immediately I was hit with this Tommy Boy moment. All right, take a listen. This is after in the movie Tommy Boy, they have just had their car hood fly up. They're flying down the highway completely unable to see. They spin out. The car hood, flies off the car. And they're just sitting there realizing that they almost died. And here's the conversation.
Hey, I was just thinking. When we stopped for gas this morning, I think it was you who put the oil in.
Hey, if you're going to say I didn't put the right kind in, you're wrong. I used 10W30. And besides, motor oil would have nothing to do with this accident.
True, but you can't latch the hood too well if you don't take the can out, you no-selling waste of space. I swear to God, you're worthless.
So he still got the can in, which he wouldn't even be able to close the hood.
Right.
And all I thought was, all you got to do is plug in the phone. Like, how do you
somebody could buy it?
How do y'all continue to do stuff like this? Like, how inept are you that you continue to run a campaign where the little things, the tiniest little things that everyone picks up on, you're completely missing?
The reason why is because they have the backing of everybody else in this. See, when Donald Trump makes a mistake or their campaign makes a mistake, it's glaring to the left and they pick up on it and they exploit it. If Kamala Harris makes a mistake, people ignore it or they don't see it or they're not looking for it the way they're looking for anything that Donald Trump says. How can we take this 1 second quote, take out the rest of it and take it out of context and use it against him? How can we take this picture and make it seem different than it really is? That's what they do with Donald Trump. They're always looking for it. They don't look for it when it's her.
I don't know what the Shore News Network is, but when I did a quick Google search for Tim Walz cheering at the Michigan game,
Thank you.
It came right up. Have y'all seen this?
Yes, I was just about to bring that up with you.
Holy cow, dude. I just read
You're
about
just
it.
now seeing this?
Yes.
Okay, explain what you have, and then I'm going to set you up for the punchline. They took a promotional shot of Tim Walz and his wife cheering hard for Minnesota at the game in a suite. They're on their feet, screaming, like arms up in the air and cheering. And what is going on?
Nothing. Nothing's going on. I can't even tell that the game's going on. Like the whole side of the field is completely empty.
There's no one on the field yet.
Everybody is sitting down. Like it looks like the entire Michigan football team is on the sidelines.
It looks like a timeout.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And they're cheering wildly, like it's like during a timeout when there's no one on the field.
Okay, and I just noticed this because I'm just seeing this picture. Look at the picture in the bottom left corner. What's this person doing?
Everybody else is chilling. This was a promo shot. This was look how we
Did you see this
cheer like other people.
Oh, yeah.
This dude looks like he's asleep.
Oh, he was asleep. Yeah, he was just sitting out there chilling out. And again, these are photo ops that they can't figure out. They don't know because, again, they don't have to look back and say, what do we need to make sure is right in this? You know, even Mike Pence, when he did his thing and the beeping was going on and saying, hey, are you going to put a card in and fill up your gas? No, he just pretended to fill up the gas. They think Americans are stupid. They think Americans are dumb. Why look any further? Take a picture, show that she's working hard, show how presidential she looks on Air Force One doing the job, and that's all they were thinking about. They didn't think about the fine points.
Walz is cheering at a empty field with his wife like it's
do it to
like
him.
It's the next coming of Judas Priest just came out at the concert.
That's right.
You have Kamala Harris acting like she is getting down to some executive action. She's handling this scenario, yet her phone's not even plugged into her headset. And this is what they've done. This is the Tommy Boy moment. You can't put the hood on too tight if you got the can in. Selling waste of space.
Well, hold on.
Just do the little things.
Maybe they introduced the Minnesota Gopher, and he was about to run on the field, and he was cheering for that.
I'm glad you brought that up. Event timelines, according to Shore News Network. I don't know what this is, but I've never heard of it per se. But I saw the tweet and pulled it up. So they say, as they lay it all out, the The folks who posted this for Tim Walz said it is when Minnesota scored in the fourth quarter. Fact checkers claimed the clock was at 1:37. Turns out the photo was at 37 seconds before the game started. You can see the scoreboard. They said the picture was taken before the game even started.
It looks pregame.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord, these liars.
Well, maybe
they got nothing else to do but just lie about everything.
Maybe they showed like a big picture on the big screen of, like Richard Simmons, and he got excited. And was cheering for that before the game. Yeah.
It looks like it's a pregame shot based on everybody else in the stadium. Because if you go to a game at Michigan, ain't that many people sitting, all right, just to start with.
Ever. It's like one of the most iconic places to go see football. I'm not a Michigan fan. I would love to see
Unless
a game
they
in the
were
Big
losing.
House. Unless you're right.
Then they might sit down at the end of a game and sit down and
except they were never losing.
That's right. That's the
So
other
it's like you know the timeline of what happened.
37 seconds before kickoff is where the picture was taken, and they completely astroturfed even this.
All you had to do was take the oil can out of the car.
Just take it out of the car. Just take it out of the car.
And this accident wouldn't have happened.
But this is the same guy that went to change an air filter, took the air filter off, put it back on. And anybody who knows anything about cars or wants to pretend they're like the manly guy, the way they're trying to portray him as a coach, would say, dude, you didn't do anything right there. You didn't change anything. You're doing it again just to, pretend to relate to people. But that's what this is. He's trying to relate as coach. He's trying to relate as a football fan, as middle America, a guy from Michigan or a guy from Minnesota who just loves this kind of stuff. Take a picture of them cheering. Hey, Tim, let's get this done so we can get out of here.
They really thought that this was going to be the person that would appeal to Midwestern men. The football-loving guy who goes, you know what? I might be able to just handle Scranton Joe.
Yeah.
Like, Joe kind of maybe gets me. All right, I could maybe go along with this. And you only need a certain amount of those people. These people, you cannot find anything that you have in common with them.
They wave with two hands.
I would say, I know this sounds weird because he's pushed as a coach and, he's known as, he worked as a football coach. We do know that before he stepped down for the DUI. But I would trust that Joe Biden's more of a football fan than this guy was after seeing this picture.
No kidding, man. Can you believe that in a span of a couple days, they've already had 2 artificial pictures debunked? That's how fake everything they're doing is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
The entire campaign's fake.
79% of the people in Arizona were not from Arizona.
Well, that's the other thing. Don't say that loud because we'll get
really upset by bussing people into all these different places.
Well, they probably got them to vote while there.
But that's the thing. Crowd size. Who would have thought crowd size, again, would come up? But yet, it has to because they have to bus people in to go to Kamala's events. Anyway. Leftist outlet The Hill has some sobering news for Kamala's campaign. You'll hear it here next after a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update on Extra 106.3. Stay with us. More of the Morning Extra next.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Do you want more evidence that pretty much everything you get from the mainstream media is biased toward the left, toward the Democrat Party? No surprise. Well over 90% of the writers, producers, news readers, anchors, all of them vote Democrat, which brings us to fact-checking. How many times in the last, couple of months, 6 months, have you heard them use the phrase baseless or without evidence? Donald Trump made the baseless claim that blah, blah, blah. With no evidence, Donald Trump made the baseless claim that blah, blah, blah. Yep, they're going to tell you what Donald Trump said or what some other conservative said, but they're going to use the word baseless or without evidence to signal to you that you should pay no attention whatsoever. But have you ever heard the baseless claim or without evidence phrase used to apply to the favorite left-wing propaganda statement that the rich don't pay their fair share of taxes? Answer, never. You want some updates? Here they are. The latest figures from the Tax Foundation. In 2021, the bottom one-half of taxpayers earned 10.4% of all income. They paid 2.3% of all federal income taxes. The evil top 1% earned 26.3% of total adjusted gross income and paid 45.8% of all income taxes. Yet nobody says that the idea that the rich don't pay their fair share is a baseless claim. Baseless? The top 1% of taxpayers accounted for more income taxes paid than the bottom 90% combined. You can fact check this yourself. Just go online and Google who pays what taxes and have fun. Neil Bortz, Xtra, 106.3.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Real Success. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at ourrealsuccess.com.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses and acquiring rental properties right here in Atlanta? We're offering a handful of motivated individuals the opportunity to attend our workshop right here in Atlanta for free. That's right. We'll give you 2 free tickets when you text FREE to 64,000. Atlanta is the perfect market to flip houses and build rental income. Discover the simple steps developed by Joe Arias, one of real estate's greatest rags to riches stories. You'll learn to flip properties and secure rental properties without using your own money and in your spare time. Don't miss this opportunity. Come to a complimentary live 2-hour workshop next week right here in Atlanta and learn how to start making money flipping homes and building long-term wealth with rental properties. To get 2 free tickets, text FREE to 64,000. Text in the next 10 minutes, and registrants will also receive a free copy of our Funding for Deals guide. Text FREE to 64,000 for 2 complimentary tickets. Text FREE to 64,000.
Hey sandwich lovers, today's your lucky day. There's a whole new way to roll for lunch or dinner delight with Nucky's Hoagies in the Roswell Corners Shopping Center. Now open. Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell is family owned and operated by the Sub Sisters, Stacy and Shannon, whose love language is food and Nucky's Hoagies, their passion. When you bite into a Nucky's Hoagie, you'll taste the difference. The softest hoagie rolls ever, along with hunger-quenching sandwich combinations. Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
Get out. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Israel's telling residents across the border in Lebanon, ordering evacuations.
Overnight, Israeli forces launched ground incursions into southern Lebanon, going after Hezbollah positions along the border. My team and I were actually embedded with an Israeli commando unit as they crossed into Lebanon.
Fox's Trey Inked is now back in Israel, reporting from Haifa.
There are a number of places along the border the Israelis are looking to put new pressure on the Iran-backed group.
Days after an Israeli strike killed the leader of Hezbollah, which says it is ready for a direct confrontation in Lebanon as the militants fire rockets into Israel. It's another day of misery for Hurricane Helene victims from Florida to the Carolinas. Fox Weather's Robert Ray reports from Asheville.
There are so many communities in peril right now that have not been able to get communication because of the lack of cell phone service and power outages. It's not just Asheville that has been decimated and people going through these issues. Hundreds unaccounted for because they cannot communicate.
The storm is blamed for at least 128 deaths. There are still more than 1 million power outages. Ships are sitting idle at ports from Maine to Texas. Big containers unopened. After about 50,000 dock workers went on strike after midnight in a contract dispute.
The ports shutting down are responsible for about half of all U.S. imports and billions of dollars in trade per month. A J.P. Morgan analysis predicts the strike could cost the economy more than $5 billion per day.
Fox's Brooks Singman. The economy could be a big issue tonight in the CBS News vice presidential debate. J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. Perhaps the last debate before the election in 5 weeks. They're celebrating in Plains, Georgia, where Jimmy Carter at home and hospice hits the century mark.
Happy 100th birthday. You've always been a moral force for our nation and the world.
Our oldest president, Joe Biden, and a new message to our oldest ex-president ever. America's listening to Fox News.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Can't afford to fill your grocery bags or gas tank? Fill your day with the best conservative talk for free by downloading the Extra 1063 app wherever you download your apps.
Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Some of the things you'll hear people talking about at work today is the dock workers strike. That will ramp up as we head into the afternoon and into tomorrow for sure. That is one of the things. Obviously, during the Fox News update, you heard Jimmy Carter's birthday, 100th birthday. Certainly wish him nothing but the best. I do believe he's a good man, even though he was not a good president. And here's another story you might hear about. DirecTV buys out Dish Network, and Sling TV, which is the original, if I remember correctly, at least the original streaming television. That's the first time I remember ever hearing about it. But the interesting part is DirecTV buys Sling TV and Dish Network, the satellite, from EchoStar for $1. $1.
Man, I would have spent $1 on that.
I know.
Okay, so they took on their debt, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nearly $10 billion in debt. That's the thing. Without assuming, they had to assume the debt, obviously, but they couldn't make the transaction happen without there being a fee. In the United States, it is law that there has to be some sort of fee charged. So they were taking on $10 billion, so EchoStar says, we'll charge you $1.
There was a betting service that you had Barstool sold, and because of some of the issues that occurred, they ended up selling it back to Barstool for $1.
That's exactly
It does happen.
It does, absolutely. That's a great example, yes.
No, think about it. So my dad wanted to give one of his nieces, who she was having all these car issues and everything, he had an extra car. He had kind of done some work on it. And legally, he had to sell it to her for $1. Couldn't give it to her.
Right.
So sold it to her for $1 in the title and everything else. So she had a ride while she was like 16 or 17.
So this acquisition of $9.75 billion of debt is creating the largest pay TV provider, 20 million subscribers total. AT&T is selling some of its stake in DirecTV to a private equity firm. But yeah, so that's probably something
Sling
else.
used to...
It was like the original. It was like the OG.
It was one of the first ones.
Or at least I remember.
Because you did have, obviously, with Hulu, and then Hulu added a live TV element, and YouTube added a live TV element, and Sling was the one that was ahead of everybody. I think it just got passed over the marketplace in part because the other two started doing original programming and had more sports.
I think you're exactly right. It'll be interesting to see how all that works together. But one more story that I'm going to bring up that just made me smile today. And Los, this one might make you smile, Rhino. I'm not 100% sure.
Pete Rose is dead?
Yeah.
No.
I'm not smiling.
No.
I'm just not frowning either.
No, it is that Oasis announces a North American concert tour.
Good
How about that?
luck.
Dude, I love Oasis. You don't dig Oasis?
No, it's not that. It's that they never get along
they're
well
gonna
long
fight.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll whoop each other's ass on stage,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Like,
Like Jane's Addiction.
That's why you go, right?
This never works out long enough. This is every single time when Van Halen said, hey, we're going to do this with David Lee Roth.
And we're going to bring Sammy Hagar, too.
And it would last about 3 dates, and they would just go, this is why we hate David Lee Roth.
Yeah, we can't do this anymore. Dude, this is going to be, mark my words, this will be the biggest concert reunion tour of all time.
If I buy a ticket, I won't be going. Because it will be canceled.
No, it's just right.
Oh, there you go.
If it lasts.
What is it with Oasis? Why does everybody love them?
It just, when it came out in the early 90s, like 93, 94, you were going through this period where it's like there was so much grunge, and then suddenly you had this kind of melodic, cool kind of British vibe, kind of old school British rock.
Yeah.
And so you just got to understand, it was different than what everything else was out there.
Product of the time, because I listened to this and I'm like, this is like very bland.
But you got to understand,
music.
You're used to this because every British pop and rock group then basically made themselves sound like Oasis for the next 15 years. That's why you don't go like, oh, that's different.
I mean, you even had like Nickelback, Creed, all of them kind of fed off of what Oasis did and changed the way that grunge and ska music, they were pretty much the 90s. That's what you were looking at. And then here comes Oasis, and they offer a different opportunity to kind of listen to that. I don't know if I'd still call it the grunge era. I guess it is, right? I mean, it's part of it.
It was the
still
tail
in there.
It was the tail end, for sure.
This was, a different way to actually enjoy music. I enjoyed their songs. I had no problem. I was never in love with them. I would not buy a ticket to go see them. I won't go to a reunion tour. Well, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
If I were
Depends on girlfriend Erin. I like the music enough. Again, I don't care about, I'd like to see the fight.
That might be the best part of it. If I were stranded on a desert island, What's the Story, Morning Glory will be one of the albums.
Yeah, What's the Story, Morning Glory.
It's a great album.
It's a great record. 15-year hiatus. I
definitely maybe was the I'm listening.
Precursor.
You think that's going to be bigger than one of the Rolling Stones 6 unretired tours?
I do.
Reunion tours, yeah.
I think this will, because
there's
they're not
something
going to do another one.
but there is something to nostalgia. Like all those nostalgia tours are doing well.
Yeah, I think
they are.
I do it.
Speaking of Creed and Nickelback, they were just in Alpharetta and sold out on a rainy, wet, cold night. And I'm not a fan of either band.
Yeah.
But that place was slap full, and half the people I know are there. So it is nostalgia sales.
You want to know, and this will help with Joe. So Joe, the get-in price for what they have currently, and most of it is in the UK. The get-in price for most of these shows is $500 plus. And by the way, for Wembley Stadium, it's $515.
Whoa.
They're going to sell out Wembley.
People around.
That's right.
They're going to sell out, or they can fill Wembley Stadium.
It's going to be
that's insane.
That's what it used to be.
They'll do 2-3 nights at Madison Square Garden. They'll do 2 or 3 nights in L.A. Probably do a couple nights here in Atlanta. It's going to be the biggest tour. Mark my words.
Hey, look. Apparently, according to girlfriend Erin with the explicitives, no, we're not going to that tour.
Well,
she's not a big Oasis fan.
No, it's not that I don't enjoy it.
She might let him down.
It's that I don't expect it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
don't expect
if it actually happens, it's going to be magnificent.
Here's Lucy with the football.
Yeah.
Here's your Oasis tour date. I bet you can't wait to go watch them. Whoops.
Woo.
Oh, and now I'm down on the ground.
While they were getting in line at the airport.
Yeah, that's right. They got into it, which happened so many times. You gave me your login for Max, and I watched the Oasis documentary recently on that, which is incredible.
Joe, I'll just tell you this. There was a show. It was MTV Unplugged, and I'm not sure how much you know about this sort of stuff. Are you familiar with
I've done my research. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So that used to be a huge show in the 90s where they would strip it down and you would just play acoustically. And you actually had, because Oasis was supposed to perform, what was it? It was Liam was the only one who got up on stage because Noel Gallagher.
Because they got in a fight.
They got in a fight. Noel acted like he was sick, and then he mocked him the entire time from the balcony.
In the crowd.
He was in the crowd, mocking his brother the entire show.
Today's going to be the day.
I mean, he's sitting there laughing at him, and it's like he's got a drink in his hand. Like, clearly he's not sick, and he's just sitting there like, oh, you played that great.
I did great. Yeah, he's winning the foe.
That's next level fighting.
That's
dude, and
that's amazing. I would watch that.
That's what it was. That's why you watch that one.
You'll have to probably pay a bunch to go see it. If it happens, Los is spot on here. If it happens, it'll be the biggest tour that you'll see this year, without a doubt. 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your Atlanta exterior solution since 1999. You can reach out to them at 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. What's up?
Oh, I guess girlfriend Erin called in to talk about this Oasis thing, so then I was telling him to tell you in the air.
Oh, Erin, what's up?
Hey, Erin.
Hey, guys. So when I was a freshman in high school, a girlfriend of mine and I bought tickets to go see Oasis. They were playing 2 nights at the Omni, and the first night we had tickets for, and they got in an argument and canceled the concert, and I have never freaking listened to them.
You ruined my night out.
This is not unusual.
Thank you.
Liam and Noel would fight all the time.
And Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yes. And so the idea that it's taken 30 years for them to say maybe we can get through some tour dates, I don't believe it.
We'll see.
That's one of two. Okay. The other story is Bush. Apparently, Bush really made them mad because they walked off stage after one person said something. They walked off stage and never finished the concert. So
Well, that's enough to
I
make
guess we
people
don't get to
upset.
see Oasis. Oh, I would be upset.
So I had it backwards. Noel Gallagher got up on stage. Liam was the one who just kept crapping on him the entire time.
And the crazy thing is, I don't know why I get their names reversed too. I cannot keep those two apart. I know them apart, but I can't keep them apart. I don't know why. I always mix them.
I don't know which one's which.
I like listening, again, because Liam obviously has most of the songs, but Don't Look Back in Anger, when Noel's singing that song, it's just a great song.
So good. My favorite, Cast No Shadow. Go check that one out if you like it. All right. The Hill is reporting, and obviously a leftist outlet, The Hill is reporting that Kamala Harris is done. She is toast. And I love it because they're saying right now, well, the polls are too close to call in the beginning. And I've seen that from Real Clear Politics and The Hill. But The Hill is saying Kamala is done. Polls show Trump leading by 3 points. Others show Kamala leading by 0.5 point to a point. Problem is, Trump always underpolls. And right now he's leading in all the swing states. And I don't expect that his polling... Actually, let me say this differently. His polling now is expected to be better when the next round that comes out than in 2016 and 2020, which obviously spells real trouble for Kamala.
It really does. You know, The Hill is a funny little. They do so well with some of the issues when it comes to actual policy and legislation. Then it comes to polling, and they do one thing and then show the rest of the polls, and it shows a completely different story. And they kind of got trapped in this because they had Harris leading by 4 points, 7 points nationally at one point just a few days ago. Then they break it down and start putting all the polls together. Then you realize that, well, Trump is leading in North Carolina, which is a battleground state, by 2 points. Trump is leading pretty well, 11% pickup with Hispanics in Arizona, starting to pick up numbers there. Pennsylvania, he's starting to add on. So as you start to break down these polls, The Hill, and I think Democrats, and the reason that you hear Kamala Harris begging for another debate is because they all realize their internals, the numbers, are not looking good for Kamala Harris.
The certainty here has been, all right, look at how he's tracking right now in terms of 2024 versus 2020 and 2016, and it's by far the strongest. Here's the weird part about it. You've had, when you talk about Donald Trump underpolling, that has been clear for 8 years. That's part of what happens. The weird part is that between 2 assassination attempts and the economy and the shambles that it's in at this point, I think you have more people willing to do a poll and say, yeah, I'm voting for Donald Trump, and not being like
the quiet.
Hey, I'm going to vote for Trump.
Absolutely. And they actually reference that.
And I think that's a factor in this where I think that's where you're seeing some of these numbers turn in this way. And if there's more people willing to say that, even knowing that they're underperforming, that's why they think she's so underwater.
Add that with the strides that he's made with minority communities and younger voters, that has got to be overwhelming for the Harris campaign to go, how are we going to overcome this? And they probably won't, but that's probably got to be their concern.
And then when you start looking at the unions, okay, and the people that they keep talking about, the Teamsters, the United Auto Workers, and all the other Teamsters that they're going for, saying, oh, this person, they endorsed me, they endorsed me, they endorsed me. The problem is that when they do the polling of the actual employees, it's not registering well. And at one point, she only has 9% of that vote compared to 19% that Biden had in 2020. That's a big swing towards Donald Trump. These are all numbers that in the internals, when people actually look into them, they realize, if you're a Democrat, Kamala Harris doesn't have a good chance, because I think, in all honesty, most of America, most of these people are seeing through her BS and what she's trying to put out there. This entire fake campaign with fake words, with just covering with things that are, opportunity economy, holistic, just throwing words out there that don't really equate to policy or issue.
And then she gets an endorsement from the police leaders for community safety. They endorsed her, and you find out shortly after that they're a brand new organization filled with people who are leftists.
Yes.
Have really no connection to any law enforcement or unions. They artificially make up a police union to endorse her, which doesn't even exist, really.
So this was maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, where I saw this criticism from Veterans Against Donald Trump, or veterans for Responsible Leadership. And I kind of dug into it a little bit because all of this stuff, you have to point out legally where's your money going and who are your representatives. And by the time it took me 15 minutes, I went Democrat, 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 and all their donations, 98% were to the Democrat Party. So by the time that I pointed this out on Twitter and their main guy tried to go back at me, I posted where their donations were going, and he stopped.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, hell.
Oh, no.
And I was like, this is all legal stuff, but this is what it does. They create these organizations to make it appear as if there is some sort of mainstream view of Kamala Harris or this large backing from a handful of different groups that all represent from the political spectrum. That's not the case.
Kind of like they appear to be cheering at a football game or appear to be planning for, emergency preparation in North Carolina.
Outside of the Lincoln Project, which is a bunch of weirdos.
They're crazy.
Yeah, it's like who exactly is your group of hey, they might be on the other side of the aisle.
They want to pander to joy and spreading joy, and they feel like that's a good message. They're running on abortion and abortion alone, but I don't think that's going to translate to most of America because once again, only 25% of women will ever have an abortion, and that's such a low number when you start to break it down to rape, incest, and other things that actually affect. There are other people who go, well, maybe we shouldn't just be using this as a way to get rid of a pregnancy. Maybe we should use prevention first. So I think a lot of people that falls flat on. What doesn't is the economy. What doesn't is the border. What doesn't is the way you handle a storm. What doesn't are the things that you say and how you're going to be able to take care of these issues and tell me a plan. And neither Harris nor Walz can give you a plan. They just go back to the fact that they grew up in a middle-class family. Oh, here's a picture of me pretending to work. Oh, here's a picture of me pretending to cheer. Oh, that's all they have, and that's falling flat. Now, I want to say this because this race is far from over, and it's still too close.
Oh, sure.
So that means that every single person that's listening to the show that wants Donald Trump to win or Republicans to get rid of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and socialism, you got to get out and vote. You got to continue to vote. This isn't over. It's not even close to over, so you got to keep going, making it too big to rig.
And if tonight goes as we expect, maybe there will be an odd moment for Tim Walz. And that's kind of what I think we'll probably be able to talk about tomorrow, Los. You can listen to the CBS debate tonight.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock here on Extra. If we just get that one moment that will blow up and take over social media, that should be the nail in the coffin.
We just need that one time where Tim Walz just suddenly starts waving his hands around and spewing out weird ideology and just go, there it is. Just need it. That's all we needed right there.
But you don't think they probably told him, put your hands in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Please.
Why are you chained to the desk?
Do not Tommy Boy this and run on stage, running around like a fat man in a little coat.
I just want him at some point to just go, oh yeah, well, kill Whiting. Just like in Black Sheep, where the whole band goes, no, Tim, no.
But you could get it tonight. You can hear it here on Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hour, brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. Reach out to them, southernexteriors.co, 8779. Southern Hillary warns about an October surprise, but one that's damning to Kamala? You heard me right. Next on Extra 106.3, Tuck, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
I'm sure you've heard by now of the mass shooting that happened in Birmingham, Alabama. I don't know, 20-some people hurt, 4 people killed. One thing the media has not told you is that the shooters were black. Uh-oh. Racism. Don't use that word around me. It means nothing. The urban black culture is a culture of violence, predatory violence. And finally, somebody said it. Not just me, the old white guy. Somebody said it. His name is Randall Woodfin. He is the mayor of Birmingham. Go ahead, call the black mayor of Birmingham a racist because he mentions the culture of violence.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, police response. Are you prepared in any of these situations? Well, I would hope so. But if you're not, well, that's why you need True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. Look around the world. Look at what happens when these kind of emergencies happen. What do you need? You need water. You need food. You need the ability to have power. There's so many things. You need to be able to... We know about looting. We already saw 6 illegals arrested for looting in North Carolina. How disgusting is it? It's very disgusting. Well, there's only one place that you can make sure that you're covered in every one of those situations, and that is True Prep, the preparedness company, your one-stop shop for emergency preparedness supplies. Whether it's freeze-dried food, water filtration, first aid kits, firearms, firearm accessories, ammo, they have it all at the lowest price around, and they're locally owned and operated by 2 Georgia Tech engineers that understand what you need and also have good plans for you. They can get you started right away, and that's why they have their workshops. Almost every weekend they have some great events. Even during the week, they have local community events that you can attend, and you can find that on their website. Workshops like your Intro to Emergency Preparedness, your Bug Out Bag and Get Home Bag class. These are important things for you to know. So head over to their website, check out some of the workshops. You can sign up right there on their website at trueprep.com. That's TRU prep.com. Start preparing today for a worry-free tomorrow with our friends at True Prep.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Neil Bortz here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now, I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
Democracy 24.
It's debate night for the vice presidential candidates. They will face off at CBS studios in New York. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz has mocked Ohio Senator J.D. Vance on the campaign trail for his comments about migrants and childless cat ladies and for going to an Ivy League college. He said at a rally in early September,
"You go off to Yale, you get a philosophy major, you write a best-selling book, trash the very people you grew up with. Just don't come back to Erie and tell us how to run our lives. Don't do that. Don't do that."
Last month in Philadelphia, Vance said 25% of everything that comes out of Walz's mouth about his military service is a lie.
The closest Tim Walz has ever come to combat, even though he says he carried a weapon in war, the closest Tim Walz has ever come to combat is when he let rioters burn Minneapolis to the ground a few years ago, right?
In the Real Clear Politics average, Walz's favorable rating is ahead of his unfavorable by a point, but Vance's unfavorable number is 10 points higher than his favorable rating. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Tuesday, October 1st. Rockdale County has rescinded its shelter-in-place and evacuation orders, allowing residents to return home. Firefighters who have been battling the biolab blaze have transitioned from extinguishing the fire to removing remaining chemicals that could pose a threat of reignition and further deterioration of air quality. The fire initially started around 5 a.m. Sunday when a sprinkler malfunctioned, causing water to come into contact with a water-reactive chemical, according to authorities. Fulton Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney issued an order overturning the state of Georgia's 6-week heartbeat bill. According to the judge, abortions must be regulated as they were before the law took effect, which means they will be allowed until 22 weeks. Governor Brian Kemp responded, saying, once again, the will of Georgians and their representatives has been overruled by the personal beliefs of one judge. The Attorney General's office is expected to appeal the decision. The final day of the baseball season might have been one of the most memorable endings in MLB history. The Braves and Mets played 2 makeup games to decide who would be heading to the playoffs. The Braves blew an early 3-0 lead in Game 1 and lost 8-7 in the final game of the season. Grant Holmes took the mound and secured the win as the Braves beat the Mets 3-0, capturing the final wildcard spot. The journey to the World Series begins today for the Braves, who head to San Diego to take on the Padres at 8:30. You can catch all the Braves postseason action beginning tonight on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
As we discussed a little bit earlier in the show, and if you missed any of it, you can go back and listen to it on the Xtra 106.3 app. It is available live or on demand. As of 20 minutes ago, from FEMA, President Joe Biden Jr. approves major disaster declaration for Georgia. Well, thank you, sir, for finally waking up and getting it done. Goodness gracious, it's unbelievable, man. You should have had that thing ready to go the minute things started happening. Because that's what Ron DeSantis did.
Going back to 2018, when you had Hurricane Michael go through Florida, you had the scenario where the House of Representatives were weighing extra funding in order to help out that area of Florida. And it came back as, well, you know what? That's really Trump country. And I think it took Congress, it was a record at the time, 8 or 9 months to approve that bill to help fund some of the build back in that area. And Nancy Pelosi was like at the forefront of, we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it. So if you don't think that they play politics
yes, they do.
With this stuff, depending on how that area votes, you are mistaken.
So there you go. It's about time, but they finally approved disaster declaration for the state of Georgia. So good news there. All right, 9 o'clock hour brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution, 8779 southernexteriors.co. There is an October surprise. Be ready for this October surprise. And usually when Hillary Clinton talks about an October surprise, you would think that this would be a surprise that would be devastating to Donald Trump, like, that Russian misinformation thing, that, the Hunter Biden laptop.
The Hunter Biden laptop.
Yeah, all the,
that fake story.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think that'd be what it is, but turns out, nope. It's more that she's warning that Kamala is in trouble.
Isn't that weird? When I first started reading this is already the spin the Democrats are trying to get ahead of. There's something out there. There's something that we don't know about, but there is something that Kamala Harris's campaign, Tim Walz's campaigns, what they know about, what Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the rest of them know about. Why she's warning about, hey, get ready, there's going to be an October surprise that's going to affect Kamala, and the Republicans are going to exploit it and make her look bad. Well, why are you setting this up already? It sounds like you're already in spin mode. So there are always October surprises, and they usually end up being an emergence of a video or some kind of audio, a major weather event like we're seeing today, political violence, which we've already seen against Donald Trump, maybe another debate, which we know is not going to happen, or a war breaks out, a broader war that really does start to affect people. Those are the 5 things that you can see. It'll be interesting to see which one Hillary's talking about.
I believe that if we're talking about something that would help Kamala Harris, there's a couple, but the one I've kind of thought that it would be very awkward for them to do, but maybe it would happen, is for them to basically tell Zelensky, oh, you're taking the deal that's been on the table for the better part of 3-4 years
So
now.
They can take the victory lap.
So they can take the victory lap.
Makes sense.
Because the reason why he's not taking the deal and that they haven't brokered this peace, which was already lined out before, is because, hey, they're making a lot of money off this war. And BlackRock is going to end up being the ones who get to roll in to rebuild Ukraine. This is good all the way around for these people.
Yesterday, there was a story that came out about Tim Walz. Remember when he said he was in Tiananmen Square as a teacher in 1989 when all of that went down? Now we learned that has completely been fabricated, that he was not in Tiananmen Square.
So weird. My uncle was there, but he wasn't.
Yeah. So, so it makes me think, that with that story hitting, and we know how much Tim Walz has been involved with the Chinese. You know, what did he say? 30 trips to China. He spent his honeymoon in China, and he took students over to China, and he told them to learn as much about this good way of governing called communism. And then the Chinese gave him money to take more students over there. My gut tells me that it has to be something to do with China. And with the debate tonight, it just seems like the dominoes seem to be falling in that direction.
Yeah. The reason why I give credence to everything you're saying is because as of yesterday, his staff was trying to walk it back and say, well, it's more like 15.
Yeah.
Like they know that this is a vulnerable point for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody right now is looking and seeing, hey, what do we need to worry? What do we need to go forward with? I think that's why Trump took on what's going on with the storm so easily and so quickly to show, hey, I am presidential. I do have the record. I can help where the others can't. So I think the major weather event is going to play a lot more. And I'm going to tell you this. I think that in the next coming weeks, when what I said for the past 2 years, the reduction of our strategic petroleum reserve, when it starts to catch up, that this was a political ploy by Joe Biden to lower prices before the election. And now when people who actually need it, and they happen to be Democrats in Nashville, a lot of them are Democrats. A lot of them, it's a very blue area. When they're starting to get affected on not being able to get gas, not be able to get petroleum products, and the prices start rising, I think that's one of the things when it comes to a major event, which is going to be an October surprise for Harris. And she's not ready for that. She doesn't know how to handle it because she's not presidential.
Yeah, and they have no way to handle this Tim Walz thing. And if there's some link, I mean, when the Chinese government's paying you to take students, which is unprecedented, it just throws up a red flag. So I think that is going to be the thing. That if we're all just throwing in our chips and saying this is what I think is going to be, because how do you combat that? That your potential VP is somehow connected to the Chinese government or the CCP?
Somehow, in a moment of weird clarity, when he's not having his dementia moments or anything else, I think Joe Biden's going to look back on all of this, and he's going to think about, did they really expose the whole Chinese thing with Walz? And I can't believe she picked him. And he is going at some point giggle and go, I knew she couldn't win.
That's right. And
that's why I put her up there. And he'll
probably celebrate.
Because he'll go down as the guy who basically told you, I beat Donald Trump. Hillary couldn't do it. Kamala couldn't do it. Walz couldn't make a dent. I'm the one who beat him. And oh, by the way, I was right. I was going to beat him again. And everyone will then turn to him and be like, we should have stayed with Joe because Joe would have beaten him again.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the mainstream media when this happens? Let's say
it goes down this road.
Holy cow. The mainstream media is going to turn on Kamala like a set of pit vipers. And then they're going to laud Joe Biden and praise him and say, y'all did the wrong, because they can pretend like that.
See, I think you're misguided in that. I think what ends up happening when Kamala loses is all hands on deck. Attack Trump. Don't worry about what's happening in the background.
That's definite.
It's
that's
done.
Definite.
It's over. Let's take him down, and they'll focus on all the ones that are going to try to just hold up. You're gonna hear from all the ones that are just going to try to continue to impeach him and really get nothing done for 4 years.
This is the strange thing, and this is where I'm so glad to be working with you guys and to be doing this show, because typically an October surprise is grab him by the pee moment. Okay, like that was the one, like the Access Hollywood video, and this is what Donald Trump said. And oh my God, it's going to derail him in 2016. Didn't happen. You realize we've had 2 assassination attempts, and we had a sitting president who just basically said, they forced me out of office.
Yeah.
Like we've already had these.
We've already had them.
The October surprise happened in July.
Yeah.
You know, the fact is we suddenly were stuck with a man who told you, all right, I'm not going to run again because whatever they're going to pull on me, I'll finally capitulate. But I give you Kamala Harris.
That's right.
It's like,
and
there's your October surprise.
He'll be back on The View, and they will celebrate Joe like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Don't you think we should have stayed with you, Joe?
How could they betray you, Joe, like they did? That's what's coming.
They would look like such fools, too, if they did it. It would be great. But, yeah, I think Carlos is right. We've already had so many surprises. So, short of Donald Trump and uncovering a video of him going, I wrote all Project 2025, look what I did, which will never happen because it's not his policy, and the Democrats have have nothing else to talk about except for fake lies and made up stuff in their heads about him writing Project 2025. So short of a video coming out of that, there's nothing. And when Hillary Clinton comes out and says she's worried about what's going to come out about Kamala Harris, boy, does that make my mind wander about videotapes, about, I don't know, Willie Brown, Judge Joe Brown, Montel Williams, P. Diddy parties. I wonder what the October surprise could be, and could it derail this entire thing? I think she's already derailed it, though. I mean, this hurricane alone, Carlos, is in Trump's favor at this point.
I think short of, and Rhino, as much as you say, well, what if he wrote Project 2025? I think it has to be even to a certain, like, even crazier extreme. Yeah. Like, he would have to unzip his head and reveal a lizard person.
Oh, yeah. You're right, maybe.
And we're at a point, like, think about it. It has to be so shocking. Because think about the stuff we've seen in the last just 3 months.
He's a lizard person with a Hitler mustache.
I'm back. But imagine, we actually saw on television a former American president get shot, didn't kill him, basically, bleeding from his ear. Within 48 hours, he's standing at the RNC, and we're like, wow, I can't believe this happened. To follow that up with another dude on a golf course trying to kill him. Yeah. Follow that up with, obviously, Joe Biden, quietly saying farewell to the nation in his weird way. Like, it has to be something so extreme to register with us now.
Yeah, right. Kamala Harris would have to stop a bullet from hitting Trump in order to win this race at this point with her bare hands, because everything that they've done, everything they say is just such a lie that I don't think anybody trusts them or believes them at this point. And the whole story of, well, at least it's not Donald Trump, is falling flat when the economy, the border, and every other issue is being addressed by the right side of this. And when J.D. Vance is your pit bull, boy, there's no reason for, I like what Neil Bort said, there's no reason for Donald Trump to lose this race. All he has to do is just kind of shut up and keep going on the issues, and he should easily win.
There's something that has happened, Tug, with 2 assassination attempts. First off, isn't it not so strange that the far left will say, well, the second one doesn't count. They didn't even shoot at him.
Yes, right.
Okay, so that's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
But to think that your politics has de-evolved into assassination attempts when you've had 3 in 45 years and 2 have been in the last, 60 days?
Yeah. It's hard to comprehend.
You wonder about what has happened to that party and those people. And if you're an independent, or if you're even kind of a blue dog Democrat, you're looking at it going, I don't want any part of this anymore.
Take it a step further. Introduce you to Betsy Packard. She works at the University of Kentucky in the arts department. She posts this.
She sounds nice.
Yeah. Hurricane Helene. What if God is punishing MAGA populations for their hate and hypocrisy? Works for me! ! Smiley face. That is the de-evolution that Front Office Los was just talking about. And when I tell you that these people hate the people in Western North Carolina because of who they are, they're white Christian Trump voters, the way that they despised the people in East Palestine, you hear them talk about it's good that Donald Trump's being shot at. Too bad he didn't get hit. And now for Betsy Packard from the University of Kentucky to say, what if God is punishing MAGA populations for their hate and hypocrisy? Works for me. It is just the next level of it's the nicest way I can put this, the
lunacy,
hateful way of thinking and doing, and you see it on social media every day.
Well, one of the hallmarks of communism is that you don't see people as people. It's just pawns. There's no real humanity. You're no great lover of humanity. So when you see these things going on in these places, and you say, well, those are all bad people, well, then you're justifying their death, their destruction, and their misery. The nice part is that the University of Kentucky ended up releasing a quick note saying, yeah, this person isn't our employee. So it kind of suggests that they probably were, and then yesterday that ended.
And then that became to an end because you can't be a respectable organization and expect any sort of respect when you employ people like this. Does she have the right to say it? 100%. But are there actions and reactions to your actions? The answer is absolutely yes.
So, and this is the idiocy of the left and their hatred, because this is what they are. They're full of hate. They're the ones that energize people. They're the ones that write letters that say there's $150,000 for you if I fail. By the way, I'm not guilty of an attempted assassination, but since I failed, here's $150,000 bounty on them. These are the same people that fly across the country to eliminate Supreme Court justices. These are the same people like Maxine Waters who say that she'll eliminate him tonight and then call for violence in the streets in Brooklyn, Minnesota. These are the same people. And in reality, when you start to look at the registered voters in Asheville area, it is overwhelmingly Democrat. They're overwhelmingly supportive of Kamala Harris, and we're part of the reason that, obviously North Carolina was a tough state for President Trump. She's wishing the death on a female majority area city that is also a majority party affiliation Democrat.
Well, it's largely just pure ignorance.
It's stupidity. It's hatred. That's what it is.
I know. We've joked in the past about like when there's an earthquake and you're like, well, what if California falls? It's like, okay, clearly you're mocking. It's a joke. We're goofing around with that sort of stuff. You don't want to. There was not one point where we celebrated, because Hawaii's largely Democrat, where we said, wow, look at that place burning to the ground. Good. It's like, no.
We were angry that the federal government tried to pay them $700 when they're sending billions to Ukraine.
Still waiting, by the way, for help in Maui.
You want to know, like I said, I like when I can tell a personal story here and there. There's one person in my neighborhood in Florida who has a Harris Waltz sign up. They're friends of ours. They needed to use our garage to store one of their cars, and I was like, here's a clicker.
Yeah, man, go get it.
You know why? Because it's still just
humanity.
Exactly.
That's right.
I was like, we might vote differently. I still got love for you. They don't.
Why don't you tell them they have too much and too many cars? You might as well just give it to someone else.
Seriously.
Well, there's some illegals that could use it.
You're suspicious of them.
Fortunately, they didn't go up to the other Harris Waltz. If there was one in the neighborhood, that's probably what they would have heard.
Oh, my goodness. When we come back, the Australians have figured out the U.S. elections. On Extra 106.3, Tuck, Rhino, and Los until 10.
From the latest breaking news to the conservative voices you know and trust, your best new follow on social media is Extra 106.3. We're at XTRA 106.3 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and LinkedIn, and pretty much any social media you scroll through every day. And we drop exclusive giveaways, new daily content, and the latest breaking news from Georgia and across this great nation. Interact with your favorite Extra personalities. Get the latest on our live events and so much more. Follow at Extra 106.3 across all your social media and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
As the longest continually operating franchise in Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves have plenty of history to share with fans. Tours of Truist Park are offered year-round, and take guests behind the scenes to areas normally off limits during games. With artifacts and exhibits distributed throughout the ballpark, it's a definite must for any Braves or baseball fan. Visit Braves.com/tours to purchase your tickets today. And did you know that along with exclusive tours around the ballpark, you can also host a private event at Truist Park? Corporate meetings, trade shows, team building events, holiday parties, rehearsal dinners, you name it. Truist Park can host it. Their dedicated staff is sure to bring your vision to life. Whether you're looking for a large space or something more intimate for your next event, there's a venue to accommodate your needs. Visit Braves.com/events to see more details. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Doug Moore is a health insurance broker at YourChoiceHealthPlan.net. He believes your health insurance premiums should not look like a mortgage payment. You don't have to overpay for health insurance. He sells private insurance with no deductibles and no rate increases. These plans are typically 30 to 60% less than what you're paying and don't need to change doctors. He customizes all plans to meet your budget. Don't fret. Go to YourChoiceHealthPlan.net. He can save you big money. Call Doug Moore at 770-697-0100. That's 770-697-0100. Don't fret. Go to YourChoiceHealthPlan.net. If your payment is too high, you're on COBRA, or your work coverage is too expensive, call Doug, 770-697-0100. You don't have to have government marketplace insurance that's crazy expensive. Don't fret. Go to YourChoiceHealthPlan.net and request a quote. Call 770-697-0100 and let Doug design a plan for you, not by big government.
My fellow Americans, our yards are in troubled times. Unwanted weeds are crossing fence lines across our great nation, and we need to put a stop to it. No more college football Saturdays spent mowing the lawn. No, sir. Let's turf it with ultra premium artificial grass from ATL Turf Co. They're Atlanta and North Georgia's first choice for premium turf solutions, from incredible lawns to custom putting greens. Let's make your yard great again with a free consultation at atlturfco.com.
Extra 106.3 listeners are falling in love with Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell.
Me and my wife now find our favorite sandwich place. That food over there was great.
Yeah, those rolls are so soft and sweet. I mean, it was just melt in your mouth. It was, and the steak was tender and juicy and flavorful. I can't say enough about it. It was very, very impressive.
It was so good.
Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner. Nucky'sHoagies.com.
At the Piedmont Bank, we're proud to be one of Georgia's largest community banks, focusing on serving businesses and the communities they serve. With headquarters right here in Metro Atlanta, our tailored banking expertise and solutions help meet the diverse needs of our customers so they have what it takes to grow, expand, and thrive. It's what elevates us above the rest. Find a location near you at Piedmont.bank and experience elevated banking for you and your business. The Piedmont Bank. Banking elevated. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
Election coverage is more than polls and numbers. It's about what matters in your life and your community. And Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station cares about your community, your voice, and most importantly, your vote. So keep it all here for the latest and download the Extra 106.3 app and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
I want to run this tweet by y'all real quick from Jerome Jurinovich, who used to be a broadcaster here in town on Valley Sports. And he said, now that the Braves are back in the playoffs, again, it's a good time to remind you of what Brian Snitker had to overcome to get them there 7th straight season. Acuna out for the season. Strider out for the season. Murphy out for 2 months. Harris out for 2 months. Ozzie out for 2 months. Riley 6 weeks at least, if not the rest of the season. Mentor out for the season. Lopez out multiple times. Fried out multiple times. Amen and hallelujah, dude. He has been able to overcome.
He looked tired too yesterday,
you
man.
Can tell.
Whoa.
You can tell. It's wearing on him for sure.
It's been a long season with a lot of that stuff.
Dude, I'm
a
fan of
him.
Snit.
I mean, do you go out on this? I mean, it's a pretty good ending to the season. Boy, I don't think there was an exciting 7 hours of baseball. I think we watched yesterday, and it was gut-wrenching. I mean, we were texting back and
up
forth.
Up and down.
Oh, it was hard to watch, but wonderful at the end.
Riding high the wave, and then it came crashing down, and then the wave came.
Now
back
I know why people want to throw things at TVs. By the way, because after the Braves got that lead back, and I was like, all right, now we got 7 runs. I mean, what could go wrong? Oh my god,
what could go wrong? Well, the Mets take the lead again.
Well, I saw that single up the middle, and I kind of looked at my wife. I was like, "Oh, this is not going to be good."
No.
Said some bad words.
It's just when and again, Pierce Johnson has a live fastball, but he lives off that curve.
Yeah,
and it only takes one that you don't exactly get to die as far as like bite at the right time, and man, you can golf that thing out of here.
I was really happy to see Ozzie Albies
have the game.
Watch
huge swing.
When you look at where that ball, where he got the bat, right? On the sweet spot of the bat. Every time he swung, you just know right now he's seeing the ball. I'm glad to go into the playoffs with him. right now
Me
because
too.
I think that's a good place for us to be. I was really excited about Schwellenbach. I was really excited the way Grant Holmes held himself. And, I mean, the most important, 162. I mean, you
Whatever it
can't
takes,
mess
man.
up, dude. And he didn't. This is a good team. Boy, if we were healthy, it'd be nice.
The folks down in Australia have figured something out that it shouldn't be shocking to you that there's AstroTurf in the Waltz or the Harris Waltz campaign when it comes to commercials, to ads.
What you will see in Australia, they are mocking our election process, not because they think theirs is better, not because they're looking at us as like the snooty Americans, but they're fascinated in the games that we play, and they're laughing over the use of some of the stuff we do. So you're going to hear two commentators. There's two women that are going to be talking about this. You're going to hear them as they play a commercial. So this commercial is for a couple that are telling you, we were Trump voters. We were Trump supporters. We used to be, and we decided we were no longer doing it. Well, a funny thing happens when they start digging into these people's backgrounds that, again, the Australians are making fun of our elections. Take a listen.
Now, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been accused of deliberate misinformation. They've released a political ad that claims to depict two former Trump voters who live in Pennsylvania and who have switched to Team Kamala after the horrors of January 6th. But this pair of farmers shown in the ad appear to, in fact, be two actors, Robert Lang and Christina Chadwick, and they have an extensive history of kosher of donating to the Democrats and leftist causes dating back to at least 2016. For a party that talks endlessly about the dangers of disinformation and misinformation, they engage in plenty of it.
Yeah, so this is great investigative journalism by the journalists that went and found that out. I think it's another illustration of just what is a very synthetic campaign and a very synthetic candidate, where everything is manufactured, from her anointment after Biden was pushed out to just the way the campaign is being run and very limited media, as we just discussed, and then creating sort of these narratives, or almost fictional narratives, of these two Trump supporters who turned, supposedly in this case, and it turns out they're Democrat actors. You can't make this stuff up, and it's pretty brazen. But the question, of course, is will these antics make it into the mainstream or not, with a media that's very favorable to her? But to the extent that it does, I do think things like this are damaging, because it just goes to that point that she's not a very authentic candidate.
They have figured it out, and they're laughing about it.
And Aunt Peg is losing her mind going, those must be Australian Trump supporters.
That's right.
They're lying.
They're MAGA down under.
But this is every single one of the people that they've pulled up has been debunked as they were never Republicans. They were never conservative Trumpers. They gave them hats, red hats like Jussie Smollett's Trump supporters.
You wrote down the word, Tug. That word is I'd never thought of it. What's the word, Tug?
Synthetic.
Synthetic.
I was so impressed by that word that they used twice. The entire campaign is synthetic.
It is a simulation of humanity. It's a synthetic.
And it is, and you know what? I mean, good for them, because they have a bunch of dumb people who buy into all those ads. They have the Uncle Chips that fall for every single lie they've told, and you've got to feel foolish at one point. But this is exactly how fake this entire campaign is. They fake everything. Go back to Michigan and the game there. Go back again to the I'm on the phone with everyone. It's so fake.
But think about how weird it is that they would, and it took the Australians to point it out, that their idea was,
smart.
Okay, we're gonna hire two actors, and we're gonna call them Pennsylvania farmers.
What do you think?
And that they were previously for Trump, but January 6th turned them. Yeah, okay, let's run with that as an ad. Yeah. And then you find out, no, they're Democrat actors.
Yeah.
And they couldn't be further than Pennsylvania farmers.
People love those Publix commercials.
They're not synthetic oil. They're not synthetic blend. They are full synthetic.
Full synthetic.
You go get your oil change.
This Harris Walz misinformation campaign to try to win power is just disgusting at this point. The biggest liars in history. Nobody's told more lies than these two.
Dude, it's crazy how
I was a coach.
Fake it. Everything
championship
is.
Coach.
But everything being that fake is, it's got to be tough to pull off, where everything is synthetic. Everything is
I know about IVF. No, you don't.
Yeah,
you lied about that too.
Yeah, I went to China. No, you didn't. Yes, you did.
Yes,
no, you didn't.
No, not really.
Back and forth. It's just insane. I got to tell you, man, I
He's
wasn't
Sergeant
looking
Major,
forward
dude.
to...
Don't talk about him like that.
I wasn't looking forward to the VP debate tonight, but all of a sudden, there's a little bit of me that is, for what Los brought up, that awkward moment that is bound to happen.
Hey!
With
Hi,
two
guys,
hands.
vote for me!
2 hands.
Joy, I appreciate you.
For Rhino, Los, Board Up Goey, Captain Virgin River, my name is Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear? Hey, it's Tug. The Morning Extra has you covered from 6 to 10, and Kimmer's got you on the ride home.
You know that stupid idea she has of the unrealized